I know we're live. What are we live doing?
Chatting beers, drinking video games.
Hey, that's a new tagline.
Welcome, everybody, to Tanked Up, the podcast about beers and video games. It's an astonishing episode 250. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, here with the lovely Lucy.
Oh, thank you, Ben. Hello.
Hello. And just to keep up the alliteration, the astounding Aadil.
Oh, how benevolent of you, Ben.
Oh, very good. We've started excellently. And we'll continue excellently, because we'll open some beers first. Lucy, I'll come to you to start. What are you gonna kick off with this week? We're gonna do, hopefully, 3 beers each. Because it's episode 250. It's a big episode. And rather than doing something special, we thought we'd just sit here and talk more at you. Drink more.
Yeah, I'm petitioning for us to call the episode just another episode because we didn't plan any fireworks or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I did.
Oh, sweet.
Nice.
Right.
Just prop me out then. Blow up Lucy. Let's see the fireworks.
That's it. If I was much better at live editing, I could just bring her up as a big screen just as they all go off in the background. But I'm not, so.
I can show you how to do that on OBS.
Oh.
Anyway.
Not right now. Lucy, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking a beer from Whiplash.
Lovely.
It is called Honest Promise. It's pale ale and it's in collaboration with Honest Brew. Hence its name, Honest Promise. So I got this off the Honest Brew website. It was fairly cheap.
Nice.
I was just like, I love Whiplash, so it's there. Might as well add it to my basket.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there any flavour text? There isn't a flavour text. There's no flavour text.
There isn't usually on Whiplash, is there?
No, I thought there might have been because it's a collaboration beer, and maybe it's on their website or something. More detailed information, but it's 5%, 330ml can.
Nice.
The regular ingredients you'd expect. Can't see any information about which hops or malts they've used. So,
Okay.
pale ale.
Nice. Fair. Aadil, what comes to you next? What are you drinking?
I am drinking this beer from this place.
Good.
I'm drinking the We Are All Stardust India Pale Ale from New Bristol Brewery.
Yes, nice.
I really love the can.
Yeah.
I have to say, I've been in a sci-fi mood all week, and it was like, "Yerp, you got me. I trust you as well." But also, I figured, let's keep
it's very
beers
clever.
around town.
So, Lucy just said it looks like a pressure drop. New Bristol did change their sort of their
branding.
when they went. They changed their branding when they went to canning. They didn't change their logo, but they changed the can art essentially. But yes, and they went very similarly to pressure drop with that text at the bottom.
Yeah, for sure. So I thought I'd keep things close to home. I mean, most of these 250 episodes have been... Actually, I think every episode has been partially recorded in Bristol.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Was it Birmingham, maybe?
Yeah, no, I said partially recorded. Oh, yeah, no, we didn't. We definitely did. Did we ever publish our ramblings from the last time we went to Birmingham? I don't think we did.
Probably not.
that messy thing that started okay, and then the night got away from everyone but Lucy. Disgust.
Yeah, it wasn't. Well, it still wasn't feeling great the next morning, so.
I
was feeling fine, but I didn't really sleep. I just balked.
You walked up all that beer.
Yeah, I really did.
All that beer via you.
And then there was all the adrenaline of where's Ben, and it turns out in the car.
and then you very graciously drove us back to Bristol because I was absolutely fucked.
Oh, you were in bad shape. I had a awkward but lovely breakfast with the Airbnb host. But that is not what we're talking about now. Instead, we're talking about the 5.1% India Pale Ale by New Bristol Brewery called We Are All Stardust. Taste pineapple juicy stardust. Hops Amarillo Brew One and Citra. Big juicy American hops give this beer its tropical stone fruit aromas, soft and pillowy in texture, a real smooth operator.
Nice.
Store cool, drink fresh. Yeah. So I'm gonna crack this while
Nice.
Ben can tell us what he's drinking for the first.
Well, not that we've organised exceptionally well, but I am going to drink a Whiplash as well. But I'm drinking Space Operator, which is an Idaho 7 IPA. On the front, they tell me it's also got Marisota, wheat malt, oat malt, carapils, and Idaho 7. It's got a lovely sort of psychedelic space helmet, which, I mean, if you stare at it long enough, those colours look like they move. They definitely don't, but, you know, they could. It is an IPA, 6.8%. It does just tell me... What's it called? Space Operator. And then on the back, when they say, you know, unfiltered, unpasteurized, again, they don't put flavour text as such. They have the allergens in bold. It says, for allergens, see ingredients in bold. Space beer. And then tells you what the ingredients are. Why have they included just space beer? Is it a beer to have in space? I don't know.
Don't you know what's in space beer, Ben? Everybody knows what's in space beer. Moon
I
rock.
thought you were a
Exactly.
beer aficionado. You know
I've-
what space
But
beer?
this is the thing. I've obviously tied it in well. Lucy, you're drinking Whiplash about Aadil. You've got a beer all about Stardust, which is clearly in space beer. So, yeah,
Done it.
good. That's the best link we've ever had. Lucy, we'll come back to you for the Whiplash Honest Brew beer.
Yeah. It looks like a pale ale, very light, straw coloured. Poured a nice, about 2-finger white head, which has since dissipated. Smells beautiful. Getting all those citrusy, almost lemony kind of aromas. Oh yeah, that smells good. Yeah, it's pretty hazy. Can't really see much, and I didn't even like swirl the can round and get any probably of that yeast at the bottom. But yeah, it's still really, really basically opaque.
Yeah, it looks
So,
very yellow.
yeah,
Incredibly so.
it's a bit lighter coming on the camera, but yeah,
Mhm.
it is very light. It's very straw coloured. Ooh, it smells like fresh spring morning.
Ooh, lovely.
Yeah,
That's a
got a
great
bit of
description.
pine in it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm supposed to take a picture of this one. But I can wait.
Get snapping.
Mm.
Snapping for the tweets. Nice. I mean, it looks good. It sounds really good as well.
Yeah, you're getting a lot of that flavour like right up front,
Mm.
and then it slowly devolves into like, without sounding disparaging, like a thin, watery texture,
Okay.
and then which gives over to a bit of bitterness at the end, bit of pine, bit of bitterness at the end. Yeah, but you know, this could very easily. It doesn't feel like a 5% beer because it does thin out towards the end of the taste. It gives you punches, you know, firstly with that fruit, and then things just dissipate quite quickly after that.
Yeah.
But you know, leaving over that aftertaste of nice bitter pininess. But yeah, this could be like a table beer.
Mm.
Because
Nice.
it's that light in body, even though it looks, you know, it's opaque. It looks a bit thick, but
Yeah.
it's pretty light in body.
Brilliant. Good.
Mm.
Ooh, a good start. Very good start.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Whiplash they're just so good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I'm
Yeah,
jealous
I
of
mean-
both of you now. Just hearing about the one Whiplash is like, I wonder what that other one tastes like.
Yeah. I mean, it packs a lot of flavour without being too overwhelming, and it's a really well balanced beer.
Good.
It's good. Yeah, that's what you want from a pale ale.
Brilliant. A good start. Nice.
Yes.
Aadil, we'll come to you then.
So We Are All Outer Space. Fuck, Space Dust. God damn it! I'm good at reading Stardust. I was so close.
Moon
I
rock.
wasn't. We Are All Stardust is super opaque. Small amount of head. Got some tropical wafts on the pour. Definitely getting some pineapple, and I'd say like more passion fruit.
Okay.
Pineapple passion fruit off the nose.
Yeah.
And then an undertone of more of a bittering hop off the nose still too. It's It's actually more complex a nose than I gave it credit for, which is why I'm now smelling it a lot, even though I was already like, nah, I got my nosing notes, nose notes,
Yeah.
noses,
Yes.
nose sensical terms. Right, I'm gonna drink it now.
That's probably a good idea. While you do that, I'm going to smell mine. I'm being tempted too much. I always wait, but I'm just being tempted.
Yeah. Ooh, ooh. So this is 5%, 5.1%. IPA. It's sorry. The finish is kind of biscuity, which is why I suddenly said because I finally hit that point. I'm like, well, that wasn't quite what I was going to expect, and I really like it.
Nice.
It's a little thicker than you think for 5.1%.
Okay.
On the initial, it's only when you when it the liquid's leaving leaving your mouth, you notice that it is as alcoholic. It's quite boisterous, and there's this feeling of thickness that's coming off of just the layers of the taste.
Yeah. Okay.
So it is actually thinner, but you can't tell unless you're looking at it, figuratively speaking. You get the tropical pineapple's much more understated, much more of the passion fruit. A bit of a pininess, and in the middle of the two is peachiness.
Okay.
Which I think the tin said something about stone fruit aromas. I actually didn't pick up on any stone fruit in the nose, but in between that sort of much more passion fruit forward tropicaliness, again, pretty understated. It's not like a punch in your face tropicalness, but yes, this is an IPA doing some tropical things, and it's finishing a touch piney and dank before this lovely light biscuit note at the very end of the finish. Is this low level peachiness, which I actually think is there from the beginning. It's just as the passion fruity tropicalness fades, the peachiness is bridging us, and then the pininess kind of is like, hey, I'm in charge now. And so it's doing this really nice, like I said, bridge. So this is one of those beers where you're like, it's 5%. I'm at the pub for a couple of hours. God, that sounds dumb and strange. But let's pretend. Let's pretend we're in the before times.
We could
shall
do
we?
that. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm too cynical to think pretending like we're in the mythical after times means spending 4 hours at a pub. But this is one of those beers you could easily just be like, yeah, I don't know this pub very well. This works. I'll have another couple of these. It's not so amazing that you're like, I will definitely have this all night. It's doing these things really well, and like I said, it's a nice nuanced IPA that's not in your face but still doing all the IPA stuff.
Cool.
And at 5%, you're like, yeah, I can smash it back. But also, again, the texture feeling thicker than it is means I'm not drinking it at the pace I would a session.
Okay.
Which is why I think this is it's hitting that sweet spot in all kinds of ways where I'm not here to just focus on beers. I'm here to have a good beer at my pace. I might forget about it for a while. I think this will be fine to forget about and still be pleasantly surprised, and etc.
Yeah. Nice. It leads very well into my beer. I feel similarly about it. A nice combination of what you've both said in the beer that I have. It's a little more orange than Lucy. Again, very just thick. Just a solid block of colour. It poured with a little bit more head, a little bit foamy, but that dissipated quite quickly. The nose is very light. A little bit of maybe orange. Maybe.
If you swirled that on somebody, you'd literally give them whiplash. That's how thick and dense it is.
Well, nicely, when I drink it, it isn't that thick. It's got a lovely softness to it. All of these flavors are coming through, but it's really, really soft. Nothing is punching me in the face too much. It's really, really easy to drink. And like Aadil's beer, I could just let it sit for a little while. It doesn't want me to constantly replenish that taste. It would be very easy for us to get caught up in whatever we're going to talk about first than me to just sit here with it and nurse it a little bit, which I probably won't, because we all know how quickly I drink things. But in the flavour, you do get a little bit of orange, maybe a little bit of pineapple as well. There's perhaps some other tropical fruit in there, just giving it a bit of a boost, because orange and pineapple, they can feel a little bit weak when you get them in a beer as the kind of the main flavour. But it's got that sweetness from those, sweetness from the pineapple, a little bit of not quite tartness from an orange, but just a slight zip, but a sort of an orangey, citrusy sort of zip. But there's maybe a bit of mango or something in the background as well, kind of bringing both of those things together and giving a solid sort of tropical fruit base for the other two things to come out. And it's crazy, like it's ridiculously soft. It's so nice.
So I fucked up.
Why?
I may have just hit record 34 seconds ago.
Wouldn't be
Because
too.
I was like, oh, I don't need to record for 7 minutes, and they're like, oh, let's go, and it's like, cool, I'm recording. Balls.
Wouldn't be a special tacked up episode if something didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean that should be spliceable. It's only been X minutes.
I mean, I just pull the audio from the video.
Yeah.
It's easy enough. Cool.
Sorry, fam.
Don't worry. They're the beers. That's what we're going to drink for at least the next half an hour.
10 minutes.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll talk about whatever we're going to be talking about this week. The gaming topics that we are going to broach. I think last week I kicked off, didn't I? So I think it's Lucy's turn to start an episode.
I was going to say,
Try and keep it fair. Try and roll round everyone to start.
This
an
is
episode
news to
off.
me.
Something I'm making up right now, going forward. Lucy, would you like to go?
It depends.
Oh, okay.
Do you not want to hear about more Hitman?
Yes.
Hey, wait a minute.
Alright.
Hitman 2 or Hitman 3?
Both of them.
Okay.
I finished Hitman 2. I think all in all, probably. I think the clock on both of those, because I started, playing the last few levels of Hitman 2
Mhm.
in Hitman 3 because I hadn't finished them when they originally came out. I think it's probably about I think it was like 70 hours on Hitman 2 and about 40 hours on Hitman 3.
Okay.
So that's a good over 100 hours that
Yep.
I played Hitman 2, all in all, which pales in comparison to Hitman 3, which I spent,
Oh.
I think it was over 300 hours. So, I mean, Hitman 1. Hitman 1.
That's a lot of Hitman 3 to get in that space of time.
I've probably spent about 10 hours on Hitman 3
Okay.
so far. It's basically all I'm going to play for the next few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I just wrapped up the first level of Hitman 3, which is set in Dubai.
Oh, it's the big tower one, right?
It's a Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole series is just Mission Impossible, but yeah, specifically Mission Impossible for Ghost Protocol or whatever it's called. I really like those
I
films.
got no idea.
Yeah,
Me too.
yeah, they're good. They're good popcorn fare that isn't just trash and isn't just CGI filled, because Tom Cruise is a madman and he does all those stunts himself. So
Tom Cruise is a madman. You're absolutely
Yes.
right.
he's nuts. Fair play to him. Yeah, it feels easy because it's probably just like, first level in the game. They're probably just easing new players into it, I imagine. I say it's easy because it's like a lot of the setup to do things. It's like, oh, I need a crowbar. The crowbar's like literally in the room where you need to use it or something like that. So everything's very conveniently placed,
Right.
which is, it's fine. But yeah, it really beautiful, like just scenery and like grandiose spectacle in that level. Yeah, I'm still early on. There's not much changes from Hitman 2. There's
some ray tracing.
Yeah, there's really nice reflections. I'm playing on the One X. I'm not playing on
Yes.
PC, so I don't know what ray tracing would look like on that game. But I can just imagine it's got to be stunning.
Yeah.
They do some really incredible things with tech over there, and usually the most of Scandinavian developers, like when you think of like Remedy and everything like that, they're just it's crazy. But yeah, the new additions that I've noticed is that it's much more cinematic. Like in just starting the game, it's just like, okay, you're not just plopped in the level. It's like, okay, I actually have to infiltrate this place at the start. And you have this camera where so far I've used it in 2 different applications. I don't know how fast that's going to be, how much more they lean on it, but use the camera where it's like, okay, the guy in your ear, he can hack into these windows and you can open these windows if you zoom in on these really high-tech electronic windows, which sounds like a nightmare from a security point of view, but
sounds like a nightmare from an architectural point of view as well.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
From every
The
point of view,
specification on
like
those would be absolutely nuts.
Yeah, and like taking a picture of a felled target.
Is it the guy from is it the bad guy from the guy that you were hunting from the second game? Because wasn't there in the second game there was a bit of a turn, wasn't there?
Mate, I don't care about the story. I don't know what's going on.
Hitman, murder simulator, not narrative, epic playthrough sort of thing. Yeah.
I was gonna, after I finished 2, I was like, oh, maybe I should look at a story recap of 3 because I don't know what's going on in these cutscenes. And I thought, you know what, I don't care.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I could either watch a 5-10 minute video on YouTube about what's happened in the story, or I could just murder some more people for 10 minutes. So I'll do that.
Old guy with a barcode on the back of his neck. You don't really know much more.
Very old guy now.
Sort of Hitman, even the OG games were kind of like...
The story didn't matter. The story is ridiculous, and it's like he's a clone or something. Who cares? Yeah.
He came in a multi-pack.
He did. That's why he got a barcode.
I mean, yeah, several. There must be lots of multi-packs if they're up to 47 by now. So yeah, there's only probably 3 in a pack, to be fair.
The plot of Dark Angel, I imagine.
You're just making that up. You're like, that sounds reasonable.
Clones.
I don't watch Dark Angel.
There's clones.
I watched regular Angel. No relation.
The Buffy Angel.
I didn't actually watch. I watched like 3 episodes.
I didn't watch much of that. It was a bit rogue.
I heard it got really good in the later seasons. But also now Josh Whedon's even more of an asshole than we thought. So
I mean, I heard that I don't really know much about him or what he's done. In like, if someone said prior to watching Buffy who made it, I'd be like, I don't know. Sarah Michelle Gellar and gang, the Scoobies. I don't. No idea, but yeah, all the stuff that's come out about that's crappy, but I'm still enjoying going through those episodes.
To allow people the distance, I mean, and yes, there's questions about like, I mean, with streaming, it's kind of like, well, I'm paying for Netflix, and so kind of, what do I do? Like, I can watch this thing, and then some residuals will go to this person who sucks, but also other people. I think there's ways to offset that, and such that you can enjoy art.
Yes.
Yeah. Keeping the conversation going, right? Holding people accountable for what they do and what they say is one of those things. You know, we're seeing this a lot at the moment, aren't we? And I don't know. there are some video games that we have heard not just crunch culture, but the people who are making them are just complete tools. And you can still play those games, but it's having that awareness of how that may have influenced what you're experiencing, and not taking, so many people really get into certain franchises or stories or connect with characters and this sort of thing, and it's being able to separate those things, being like, right, this is an actor who played a role, and I like this character, and I like them in different media and in comics or in games or in whatever they've been pulled from, but this specific showing of this character by this actor who I disagree with on certain things, I can just still enjoy it. I just then would say, this person's a tool.
We sort of touched on that a little on Geek Out Weekly with the Gina Carano, who was saying not great things last summer before Mando season 2 came out, and we didn't quite realize that, or at least I wasn't aware until partway through the season. I think on our season 1 recap was like, I kind of really like her. She's doing a good character, etc. And I think it's important that I didn't change my mind about her ability to play that character.
Yes.
And yes, I'm not discounting. Now, it's definitely the case that when you learn something about an actor or artist, etc., that when you view their work knowing it's by them, it sometimes changes things, because that's the wonder of subjectivity of art, is it has external influences. And so if you are a person who's like, I can't watch Buffy ever because I know Joss Whedon was an asshole and had a very toxic work environment, as a misogynist, blah blah blah, that's fine, right? I just think that not everyone will have that connection immediately, and it's more like you said, Ben. Don't stop the conversation from happening, but don't condemn people for having a different point of view on either side of the fence. It's really weird when people are like, you cannot divorce, you should, you can always divorce the art from the artist, and then there's people like, no, you can't ever, and it's like, what?
Someone's always made that compromise though, no matter what it is.
Absolutely.
Even if they don't know it or not. So
yes, because humans suck balls.
Yeah, I mean,
on the whole,
we don't really have much choice in paying tax, but that tax goes on to fund.
Yeah, just don't make enough
Shit.
Ben.
Well, yeah, that's true. I could make less money, I suppose. Yes.
I'm getting paid tomorrow, so tax is a very sore issue for me. So please do not mention it.
Oh shit! I got to pay my tax. Yeah. Good reminder. Something to do tomorrow. Yeah. But Hitman 3, Lucy. So far, you spent about 10 hours in it, you said, and you've only just done the Dubai mission.
Yeah, I did all the challenges and stuff like that.
Okay.
Like, as I said a few weeks ago, and probably ad nauseum on this podcast, they have just these. You can go into this part of the menu, and they have these challenges, and it's like, okay, kill both targets with one sniper bullet. Kill the target in this way or that way, and it's like it just adds more content to it. And it's like Hitman is ostensibly a puzzle game, and you're figuring out how to, position the targets in this manner, and manipulate the system this way, and get the right loop and etc. to make those things possible. And it's just fun sandbox to mess around in, and those games are good.
Yeah, and that's exactly it's why you play them. It's why I play them. It's just a fun.
Why I keep meaning to play them.
I'm not sure. I don't know if you'll like it though, Aadil. That's the thing. So
really,
yeah. There's the thing with Hitman is that yes, it is a sandbox, and you can sort of push the boundary slightly. But if you try and push them too much, they'll just whiplash on you, and everything will break down. And I think the fun in that is adapting to those really stupid scenarios, or if the AI gets out of loop and it just stands there or something. It's just like it sometimes it feels like it's stitched together with duct tape, and just sometimes just blowing on it, everything, the house of cards will just fall apart. I'm not sure if you'll like that.
Have you had any ridiculous moments Yeah.
Uh, not now. I mean, the first Hitman was very. Oh, really? You know, the AI stopped looping. The AI just stuck in this animation and stuff like that. Once you played enough of it, you know how to like sort of, you know, push it along a bit. But if you're going for like, not saying Aadil, you do this, but if you're going for like, you know, suit only silent assassin and you just want the perfect run, there's so many things that can fall apart because there's so many moving parts and, you know, different systems that can be frustrating. But as I say, the fun of Hitman is like adapting on the fly.
I mean, that sounds like my cup of tea. Are you worried?
Yeah,
That
I know you're a very systems person, but I'm just thinking like it seems like it as I said, like everything can just go bloof through no fault of your own, not through you trying to manipulate the system and seeing how far you can push it, but just from a technical standpoint,
right.
like I mean there's people who are, you know, more casual players of the game, and it's like they turn on like the mission stories and stuff like that, which is basically guidance for you to like kill these targets. I go in. That's another different. Yeah, I go in blind. There's another difference in Hitman 3. It's where it's like the first level as you're going in, the guy in your ear is like saying, "Oh, we need a floor plan to see the map," and it's like you have no map until you find the floor plan. And it's
Okay.
like, okay. I was just
Cool,
like,
I like
what is this? I don't use a map anyway.
Well,
I
yeah,
just
okay.
want all the HUD, you know. I was
Yeah.
like, oh please, and it's just like, you know, the floor plan was right there on like a computer, like, you know, as
Oh,
you
it's like
walk through the
a-
atrium.
I'll just
Yeah,
email it over to
like
you.
you are here, and it's just like, I'm good.
So
but
did
yeah,
you?
just,
Did you?
I don't like when games withhold but don't make it like
yeah,
worthy
yeah,
of
make it work for me.
earning.
But I think that's the thing with Hitman, isn't it? There's lots of suggestions, but you never have to actually do anything.
Oh, yeah.
Does it?
You
I
can
suppose it
look
doesn't
around as well.
make you. It doesn't make you go and take a photo of that map. You never have to do that moment. Hopefully.
No, you can do things however you please.
Mm.
So it does give you that freedom, but yeah, but like I just turn off everything on the HUD, and that's the way to play it. Like I make notes. I've got a little notepad here. It's
Nice.
like, okay, all
Excellent.
the wrenches and stuff like that. It's like,
You adventure game it.
yes, because
Yeah.
it's a
It's
puzzle
a
adventure
puzzle
game.
adventure game. Yeah. I see what you mean now. You're right. Like
Mhm.
I like breaking games, but in that sort of
Mhm.
I found this bug repeatable way, and you're saying it's a little more volatile than
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
that one that you have.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and I think you're someone who could get a lot out of it, but I think that can also be frustrating. Like you have to go in knowing that you're gonna have to, like it's sort of like Red Dead 2, but not nearly as frustrating. Like Red Dead 2 was very guided in the fact that it's like in the story missions, if you like, you know, just turn your horse around, you know, Dutch is going to be like, "Where are you going, Arthur?" And it's like game over. And it's just like,
Yeah.
really? It's sort of got that like facade of freedom, but the Hitman's much more free than that. But it's sort of got that kind of. If you push it a little bit too much, it's going to like push back on you and break stuff. But as I say, it gives you the tools to adapt to situations in that sense.
I mean, that's what that last sentence you're saying is why it really intrigues me.
Yeah.
What you were mentioning about Red Dead is actually one of the reasons why I haven't gotten around to it. Is because it's a big world with. It's one of those things where we lament open world games for not having enough story, and this is like an amazing story in an open world, but also there's always that tension between sandbox and narrative and linear. We just haven't figured out how to design, because it'd be really hard. Like the branching paths needed for a sandbox with an engaging story, where the story doesn't have to be like huge big arcs, but like fallout of what you were doing at a character by character level. Like I would, if it was like if we had like a sandbox or an open world sandbox game where individual NPCs were there and they remembered things, then even
Yeah.
if it was like, I saw you buy beans on toast at that cafe last week, right before you shot 7 people in the face, I'd be like, whoa, what a cool game.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember beans on toast. Also, I swear it was 8. Fucking janky game. But
Yeah,
yeah,
in Red Dead 2 specifically, I remember there was like some boy trapped underneath like the basement of some gun shop or something.
Oh
And you had
yes.
to go rescue him.
Yep.
But it's like I did something like out of order or just not in the way the game wanted to.
sequence
And it's
breaking.
like I saved him, but he had nothing to say after that. He was just stood there like still in the shop, like still
Yeah.
I freed you. Go, fly, little
Run, be
flower.
free, and you just like,
Run, yes. And he was just
I-
stood there at the basement, yeah, just like
A couple times when I was
Weird.
playing the medium last week, I
Mm-hmm.
definitely was like, I went exploring when it wanted me to do a thing that told me to explore, and it was like, you are talking out of order. Luckily, the sequence break was just like muddy dialogue, not like actual gameplay. But it's like, oh, you were saying this because I haven't been there, and it's really frustrating in this day and age to see like simple sequences on a game where it's like you gave me this hallway, all the things have to assume that I'm doing them in any order I want. How are you this like
Yeah.
it's weird.
But the good thing about Hitman is like it's not a persistent game. It's like the levels you can reload, and it's like you save scum Hitman. You know, like most
yes,
you
absolutely.
know, like stealth action games, you just save scum in, just reload. And I remember when the load times were very slow on Hitman 1, but like they're a lot faster on this one. It's like I can't even imagine how quick it would be on like, you know, next gen SSD or, you know, on a PC or something. So
Yeah.
but yeah, that's Hitman 3. I will stop talking about it now because I'll be returning to it on this podcast.
Nice.
So yeah,
It-
I love those games.
Yeah, I mean they are
I have
fantastic.
two. I'm gonna install it and try Hitman 1 levels on 2.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because seems so. Actually, here's a question: given that you don't really care about the narrative, do you still think like the groupings the levels? Like, say someone just bought Hitman 3, never had 1 or 2, they have access to all 3 levels on the Hitman 3 engine.
Yeah.
Can you could just pick which game to play,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Play out
Would you
sequence,
recommend someone start in the order of 1, 2, 3, or does it matter at all?
It really doesn't matter because they're all so self-contained. It's not like you're learning new mechanics each. But in fact, in a sense, going from because I've played Hitman 1 through 3 in that order, I have noticed that it's like, okay, you've introduced like this new mechanic here, and it's like it was like unique to that game, but since all the levels are in, you know,
3.
Hitman 3, I imagine, even though it's not exactly the same, like a lot of those mechanics, like for example mirrors, that'll be this, you know, that will be reflected in, pardon the pun, in Hitman 1 because they introduce it in 2 and stuff like that. So yeah, you can, it should go in any order. There's certainly levels that I prefer. I think Hitman 2, I was like, when I was playing it, I was like, okay, some of these levels are really good. Like Miami, they always start, you know, very strong, and then throughout the middle they kind of dip in terms of like quality and you know, fun, and then they like peak right at the end.
Yeah.
But the DLC levels in Hitman 2 really just, you know, made it shoot up in my expectations because they're really good. The two DLC levels.
Oh, I didn't know
Have
there
you
was
done the
extra.
Knives Out level yet in Hitman 3?
That's the one that I've moved on to now. That's the second level. in
Because
Hitman
that's
3.
the one that I've heard a lot of interesting things about.
Yeah. I literally just started it before we came on here, so I don't really know anything. I just need to kill some old lady in a mansion.
The only thing I will say is it's a branching ending. There's multiple ways to finish.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So which would be worth noting because you like doing the different things. Like,
I bless you. Thank you, but I see everything in these games.
No, I just mean like remarkably different completion states.
Oh,
I guess.
okay.
Not just
Right,
ways
yeah.
of killing the person, but like
Mhm.
different ways of finishing, which involves people living or dying and information flowing or not flowing.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
The game's
which
really
sounds
good about that.
different from the other levels where it's more like, where do you kill someone? How do you kill someone? What are the
Okay.
things that are involved?
I'll take your word for it because I haven't played much of it, so it'll be interesting to see
Nice.
how how big in scope that is. So.
Yeah. Just to round this segment up before we maybe crack another bit, does this Hitman? Everyone chugs a little bit. Does Hitman 3, or what you played of Hitman 3, keeping those feelings from those other two, from the 2016 Hitman and Hitman 2, does it then make you in any way excited for the James Bond 007 project that IO Interactive are working on?
Not really, just in the sense that it's like I've been playing James Bond games for the last 4 years because that's what they are.
Yeah.
It's James Bond without hair.
Well, but also without I'm assuming without as much misogyny and
Less charisma.
Yeah, I mean, if they can add a really cool story into it, the only problem that I have is that how precious are they going to be about the IP? Because James Bond doesn't really kill people, does he? Or is he Batman? I don't know. He kills people.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine then. But he's not. I don't know. I don't know how far they're going to be like James Bond slits this guy's throat or puts an axe in this guy's head.
So James Bond doesn't do funny deaths. Like, it seems like some of the ways you kill people in Hitman. Like, I remember I played beta Hitman 1 or 2, maybe both, but like there was
a demo, I think, for both, wasn't there?
Yeah, and there was like Rubber Ducky or something. There was just some point that was very silly. I really liked it.
Yeah. I put a banana on top of a skyscraper in Dubai, and as they were skydiving off it, they slipped on the banana. So.
Yeah, so the little I've seen in the Dubai scene, I've seen multiple dumb ways of killing those guys.
Perfect.
It is really. I think they could still have like the mission story to be semi kind of serious, and yeah, but like just have all the other, extra stuff, extra challenges just be absolutely ridiculous. And
to be honest,
have such a good sense of humor.
The franchise needs to not be so self-serious.
I would have preferred a Mission Impossible because it is literally the cutscenes before, like the mission briefs rather, before each level. It's taken right out of Mission Impossible. Like, okay, you got to go here. This is the target. It just the whole trimmings around that is, MI. But yeah, I more from that studio. Like, I'm glad this game is. I don't know how much. In fact, they recouped their development costs in like the first week, didn't they? So it's sold pretty well, and it's like people are right. I see so many articles. It's like, oh, Hitman's really good. And it's like, no shit. They're like, oh, they'd be perfect for a James Bond game. It's like they've been making James Bond games for 20 years, and it's just like, I'm glad you got there. I'm glad people are like, it doesn't matter how long it takes them. It's like, I'm glad people can be excited about, stuff that IO are making, because it was hairy for them at one point. So
I mean, I've always loved the Hitman games. I went back. Hitman Agent 47 is one of the few games I went back years later and rebeat. It's not easy. It's a tough game. Hitman 2 as well. Hitman 2, but not Hitman 2.
Yeah.
Hitman 2 1.
Silent Assassin.
2 2.
Hitman 2 Silent Assassin.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it does have it. Yeah. You're right, Ben. There are ways of differentiating. It's not like Need for Speed Most Wanted and Need for Speed Most Wanted. Like my favorite game titles.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so one of the reasons why I avoided 2016 was like, I think I could get too wrapped up in the malarkey. But I'm currently employed. I'm not trying to finish a PhD. Sorry?
That's not a bad thing.
No, but at the time, I mean, this is like the peak Aadil struggling with playing games because of PhD guilt.
Yeah.
Was when that game came out, and so now
Sure.
it's like, oh wait, I got from Humble or someone Hitman 2, which gives me Hitman 1, so I could actually like start them, and then if I really like them, I can flip to 3. And is there any notion of progression that's needed to carry over from a save file, or does it really?
You don't need to, but it is good just syncing all your saves, because it basically carries over your unlock. So when you finish a level and you get XP and stuff, you unlock things that you can take into the level. So like,
Cool.
Most of the time it's like what you need is in the level, and they're not gating anything off by like you need to do this to be able to.
You don't need to grind level 1 to really be able to level 4 kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's always nice just starting with a clown suit in the middle of Dubai.
I was waiting for you to say something dumb. I was like, this is why I want to play the game.
And it unlocks different places as well, doesn't it? So you could be in that clown suit and essentially start right in the middle of the level, next door to where the person is, or something.
You can't do that. You have to be in a specific. You have to be in like a specific like staff outfit, but you can get up there with it has like in the Hokkaido level in Hitman 2. It's like you can dress up as Kill Bill and kill everyone with a katana. So.
Yep. You just want to dress up as a clown and throw fish at people.
Bruce Lee outfit, or
in a what did you say, Aadil? A yellow biker outfit.
Yeah, like the yellow. Yeah, so the bride from Kill Bill in her Bruce Lee outfit. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, great games.
Which, we all want to have.
Yes. Play them. I'd love to see you try out those games with them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I think it could go either way. I think you could like fall desperate in love with them, or you could be like, I'm
super curious too, because I haven't actually thought about games breaking around me before I'm not in the way I'm pushing them.
Yeah.
Which, as soon as you mentioned it, I'm like, you are very perceptive, Lucy. That might drive me nuts. I don't know.
Yes.
Luckily, normally I just play like some random jank on First Looks Tuesdays or whatever. I'm like, man, it's just breaking.
Yeah.
But it's been a while since I've hit a game as such described.
Yeah, and it depends what you take from it and how much you get involved with it. I just remember like watching this YouTuber who's very into Hitman. I still think he does his things. Like just watching some of his like tutorial videos, and he like at the start of every video, when Hitman 1 was much buggier than the games are now, he was like, "This game, they need to sort it out. They need to sort out these bugs. How come this NPC can like see me from beneath the map?" And it's just like,
I
stuff like that still does happen. And it's just like it can be infuriating if you're running a YouTube channel trying to get like the quickest runs and you have to restart like 20 times. To do that. So I get it, yeah.
Part of the joy.
I will never stream or try and create content that requires me to be good. I've realized that a long time ago.
Yeah.
I will stream content that requires me to be present, and sometimes I won't even like it.
Perfect. Good. This is a good place for us to open another beer, I think.
Yeah, I need to rinse, so don't start with me.
Okay. Well, Lucy, how are you doing? Are you ready to crack another beer open?
It depends what Aadil's grabbing next. Is he what was he gonna grab next? Was he grab something of the purple variety? No? Okay, no. Yeah. Subtle.
So we do actually have a beer across hosts.
Yes.
Just one.
And it is a local to you beer from Arbor at Bristol Brew Factory. And it's a double milk stout. Oh wow. 8%. I didn't know that. Sorry, I thought it was like, like 4. I read milk stout and I was like, I didn't read the double for some reason.
Yeah, I was just like, the double was the key word, I think.
I thought it was like double the, breweries, yeah. I was like, because I have another double, let's say, Dipper over there, I was like, I'll save that one for last, the heavier one. It's like, no. Do you want to do this now, Aadil, or do you want to do it after?
Well, so the problem is my third beer is an Imperial Stout.
We'll do this one.
So this is my middle beer. I just went 5, 8, 10 and a half.
That seems fair.
Yeah.
Yes, this is an 8% milk stout. I'll read the flavour text. Brewed with our friends at Bristol Beer Factory, this full-fat Big Stout is a reworked double-up version of their legendary milk stout. Strong, sweet, and downright tasty. It's got lactose in it. I can see that straight from the bat.
Bristol Beer Factory's milk stout is very, very good.
It
I don't
is,
know
yeah.
if
I
I've
mean,
had
that's what, like, immediately I was like, wait, a BBF Arbor collab? And I was like, milk stout. Oh, it's that? But, like, Arbor punching up their very good milk stout is such an interesting idea to me.
Yeah, that's it really. I can only see lactose. That's all that's in it. 8%, 440ml can.
In French, there's ogres. Not
Eggs?
ogres, orga.
What?
Ogres. Like Shrek.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm being dumb. Just ignore me. As always.
Yeah,
That's fine. You crack it open. Get it open. Get it poured.
Yes.
I've got to decide.
While you pour yours, I could tell you about my beer. Sorry, that dumb joke had to be said. But seriously, Ben, what do you've got lined up for number 2?
Well, I've got 2 dippers, and they're both 8%. I'm just trying to work out which one might. I mean, they're probably. So I've got one from North Brew Company, and then one from Overtone, and the Overtone is a West Coast IPA. So I might leave that one to last.
Okay.
Because
Is that your? That's not your first Overtone, is it? You've had one before.
I've had one before, yeah. I've got another one in the fridge as well. That's only an IPA, I think. But yeah, as it's a West Coast, I will leave that one till last and just have this dipper from North called Lines of Symmetry, which is again with North. They don't give you much, do they? Barley, oats, wheat. The hops are Galaxy and Huel melon, and it's got some yeast in it. And it's 8%. That's all I've got. That's everything.
Very pretty can, as always.
It is lovely. Yeah, I mean, North just constantly attractive cans that you just want to grab. Right. The milk stout, the double milk stout. Has it been poured? Has it been opened? Are you ready?
Yes, I'm just taking a
I
pretty
kind
look.
of tried to flourish pour on camera, and then it was a little more exuberant in the head, and some landed on my trousers as a result.
Oh, no.
dear.
Let's hope they're not cream
So
colored.
250 episodes in, still a noob.
Hey, I mean, we can't
It
see.
does for a lovely head.
We can't see below.
It really does have a lovely head.
Yeah.
It also tasted lovely as I was trying to make it not so.
It's like honeycombish.
Oh,
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, so actually, I might be able to angle the camera down. Yeah, so you could see the like dappling of the way it is the head is receding. It's very much like bits like
Big
are receding
bubbles,
together. Yeah. I forgot. Like, hey, I remember my camera pivots.
I got the coffee straight away. Just like hit
Yeah.
hit the back of my throat.
nice.
So the nose is it's quite crisp on the back end of the nose. There's just this like really like, and now we're done. Almost a cooling crispness. I don't know what that is.
Very malty.
Yeah, malty, like choco malty. I want to say like there's this notion of cacao.
That smells
And
good.
then the like the lactose sweetness is on top of it.
Is it almost like a bowl of Wheatos?
No.
That's good.
Oh, that velvety texture.
And it's not too sweet.
I was just about to say it's sweet, but not
it pairs it back like right at the end, and it just gives
Yeah.
way to that more dark chocolate and
Nice.
coffee.
You say it's so I think what it is it's got like that lactose is making sure it's sweet all the way through, and then like that doesn't change.
Mm.
That sweetness in the initial taste, you're like, it's not that sweet. Like, oh, kind of is, and then you're like, oh, but no, it's actually just that sweet. And then it's just the other taste sort of wrapping around that sweetness. And so at the end, you've got this, like you said, this dark chocolate. Almost all the coffee's gone by the finish. It is much more chocolatey than coffee.
I'm still getting a bit of more like dark chocolate bitterness rather than
Like there's a bit of actually.
too much
I take that
coffee.
back. Now that it's been sitting for long enough, there's a bit of like roasted that's not quite chocolate. But I think the primary finish is much more like rich, high cacao like chocolate.
Yes. Yeah, that's a really good beer, and it doesn't taste like 8% at all. It's like not in body.
Again.
Yeah, not in body, not in viscosity. Like
Yeah, to be honest, so
not
this is
sweetness or anything.
this is like so the first beer I had was the taste was giving it depth and thickness feeling, and then it wasn't until the taste went away I'm like, oh, actually this is quite thin. I feel like this is doing the exact opposite.
Yeah.
It's masking how thick it is because of its alcohol level. It's making like the taste is doing things so that you don't notice that it's clinging.
I mean, I love Arbor anyway. I mean, I was, I have one of the is it Cafe Creme or whatever?
Yeah.
The cream colored can is, and I was like, should I drink?
I
that?
bought one of those
Yeah.
today because I have had it before.
Yeah.
But I wanted it again. So good.
But this is brilliant. Like,
I think I'm so I really like this beer, and now I kind of want to track down another can of this and the regular BBF milk stout, just to see what the collaboration did. Because as you said, Ben, I'm I know that milk stout is very good. Really like that milk stout, and this is really good. And I just judging by like the depth of enjoyment in my memory, I think this is a better beer, but I couldn't tell you why. But I'm just saying because like I'm being very effusive in a way that I don't recall I was when I had the BBF milk stout before. It's a good beer, but I feel like I'm more enamored off the top with this. But it could just be the day. I really want to know. I would love to ABBF Arbor Bristol Beer Factory AB test. Yeah, I'll just mute my mic for a few minutes.
No, but this is it's like the last stout that I had that was on here was that beer from Garage, and it was very, very, very strong. It was almost like a barley wine, very treacly, very sweet, very overpowering. To be fair, it was like 11% or something like that, or 13 or something.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, that was like a deceptively strong beer, right?
Yeah, it was like motor oil, whereas this is just very full, and it's full, but it's not too heavy, and it just wears that name like double milk stout really well. It's like you're getting enough thinness, a bit of sweetness, but it still has that heft and that punch, but it's not underwhelming, it's not overwhelming, it's just perfect. It's just in between.
It's a whelming beer.
It is very whelming.
Excellent. Good.
How's yours? Sorry, I have to confess, Ben, we've been chatting about this one that I totally forgot what you're having.
I have got a double IPA from North called Lines of Symmetry.
I was like, I'm pretty sure it's a Dipper, but I couldn't remember who's from.
It's lovely. It looks very, very similar to the last beer in colour and in how sort of opaque it is. And at least in the last glass, there was nothing on the glass, so you could sort of see a little bit clearer. The nose is really light. Like with the last beer, it was very sort of soft, but with this one, it's really light. Not getting a huge amount from it. A little bit of tropical fruit, but not much more. But in the taste, it's very different from that light, fruity nose. So, it's definitely thicker than the last beer, expected, at 8%. But it's got this kind of sweetness to it, this unexpected sweetness to it. And it's not quite like sherbet, but it's almost that like candy kind of sweetness, which is really odd because it's got a little bit more of those tropical fruits going on in the background, but then it's got this dankness to it as well. This slightly stewy, a little edge of pininess, kind of dank finish to it. So because it's got that little bit of sweetness in there as well, they work quite well, but they're very, very different. And you can kind of be like, well, I've got this little bit of sweetness, and that's really nice. And then that dank, bigger flavour kicks in. You're like, oh, this is it. This is a big beer. I can get that from this sort of finish. But I don't know what they've done to give this initial sort of... It's not like an artificial kind of sweetness, but it is a little bit more of a candy kind of sweetness. And you know, they don't tell us...
That's what I was going to ask. Is it like just full of like puree, or not puree, but just like adjuncts and stuff?
No, I mean, North don't put a huge amount of info on the cans. They tell you what the allergens are, and then it just says it's Galaxy and Huel Melon. So it could be that it's the Huel Melon, which we don't get a huge amount of these days in beers. You know, it's a hop that we saw maybe like a lot 5 or so years ago. People tend to have moved away from it, but maybe it's that. Maybe that's giving it just that little extra, which is unexpected. I suppose it's working with the Galaxy a little bit, just to bump up that sweetness in this. But yeah, I mean, it's enjoyable. It's absolutely enjoyable. It's a little more moreish than the last beer as well, and it dries me out something chronic. Talking dankness, I want to reach back for this beer just to wet my mouth slightly, and to have that little bit of sweetness again in there. But yeah, cracking. I wonder whether it's... I say it's a tropical fruit. I wonder if it's just a very, very light grapefruit.
Yeah.
Sorry, given that it's the 250th episode, I have to call back to, I think, the first like 50 odd episodes where we realized that as soon as one of us said the word grapefruit, that's all we could taste.
Yes.
And so,
Grapefruit,
although I
Anthony.
think our tastes have matured and our tasting notes are a little more accurate, I still have residual from that moment that when anyone says, like when we bring up grapefruit, I'm like, is it? I trust you, Ben, but part of my brain is just assuming that it's doing the grapefruit thing.
Yep, grapefruit and everything. Everything's grapefruit. It's a
It
beer.
makes sense.
It's grapefruit.
I mean, when you think about beer, it has a bitterness. And so any sort of citrusy beer, the bitterness is going to lead you to grapefruit. So I totally get how it like jumps to, or as soon as someone says grapefruit, you're like, yeah, maybe that, right? But I don't think that's what you were doing. But I get why we did that. I just also remember those like a bunch of episodes where we were like,
Yes. It was just a short.
is it actually grapefruit? Oh, I don't even know what grapefruit means.
I'm pretty sure there was the grapefruit summer, where every beer was grapefruit. Yeah.
There actually was.
Yeah.
Summer 17, 18.
No,
I don't
one
remember.
was the summer. There was a summer of sours, wasn't there? The summer of sours.
So the summer of sours was 2018, I think, because 2020 didn't have a summer. 2019 was a summer where we bounced around to get, like, we went to Birmingham a couple times, etc. So it was either actually 2016 June is when I moved back from Halifax.
Okay.
And I think that was grapefruit.
Right.
So then sour was either 17 or 18.
Well, it's interesting how many breweries we see at the moment having their 5th, 6th kind of birthdays as well. You know, where the podcast is as old as some of these brewers that we very much enjoy their their beers. And to see kind of the way the industry has had these moments makes sense, because you've got all of these young breweries not kind of chasing the trend, but everyone's getting in similar kind of ingredients and trying out similar styles. And as the sector, or as craft beer has kind of grown into what it is now, people have had to experiment and have had to play and work out what they were doing. So we can see why trends have popped up between different
Also, I think
years and
the
things.
industry feeds itself in those ways,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, definitely.
So when you hear someone else is making a juice bomb and it's well received, you're like, I bet I could do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Also, if the consumers are buying it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a bit of a drying bitterness to this beer.
Yeah, I'm not really getting that at all. Like,
Really?
mm.
Like near the finish, I'm just finding like it's not drying like physically. It's just I think it's just maybe I'm just getting used to the bitterness, but like there's just a moment of like, ha, I saw this happening. In a way that it wasn't before. So it might just be my palate mid.
Might be.
Yeah. But anyway, that's just the thing I wanted to mention.
Nice. Okay.
Before we moved along.
Yeah, let's move along. I'd like to just quickly touch, if I may, on a game I've returned to. Talking of years past, I went back to one of my favourite games from 2019, which is Control, to play
that game that I am.
The game that you're
I'm
playing.
happy to talk about that.
Yeah.
As well.
I thought you were going to talk about like I don't know, Super Mario
3. I was literally going to say Super Mario 3.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
I have no way to play Super Mario 3 apart from an emulator on the PC.
Can be done, but to be fair, you don't tend to go back to old games. You're very much.
Yeah,
It's
he's our AAA leading edge boy.
Yeah, someone has to be.
Mate, there's just too many games. Who's got time to play old games?
I mean, I play more old games than new games year on year. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a year where for example, Control's probably going to be on my top list because I've spent a lot of time with it, and more than I did on any other game last year, actually, I think. But yeah, so this, I mean, we're several months away from a year end, but I suspect it'll be another jumbly year because of pushed back schedules, COVID, and also wanting nostalgia. Like as soon as like I was jokingly going to mention Super Mario 3, voice in my head said, "Hey Aadil, why don't you just start a save of Super Mario and play that game?"
Yeah, you should just like
yeah, exactly. It was
few
like,
months,
yeah.
to be honest. Like, I do.
We
I
were,
just
and
run
we were
through
talking
that
about,
game. Yeah, till the 8th world, and I'm just like, I can't do this again. I can't find this.
You've hit your point.
Again.
You're like, I'm done. I've had my hit.
Yeah,
I can go.
yeah.
I mean, but that's the great
my
thing
time.
about replaying an old game is you don't feel like you don't have that sunk cost fallacy of I'm not enjoying this. I should finish it.
Yes.
You're like I've finished this before.
Yeah.
I'm done with this. Cool. Next.
Absolutely.
Although I am going to go back and play Donkey Kong Country 3 soon, so because that came to Switch Online,
Nice.
and I've been enjoying the country games very much.
Yeah,
It
I
was-
do. We've had several conversations about those. I seem to remember
So
we've
good.
enjoyed them. Yeah.
So Control. You
Control.
came back to DLC.
Yes. So Control was the free PlayStation Plus game, and it's the Control Ultimate Edition, which comes with the two DLC packs. The first,
Oh,
Which aren't on Game Pass.
No idea.
You'd have to buy them separately, I imagine. Oh, that's perfect for you then, Ben. When you get into PlayStation Plus, yeah.
Yeah, so it's something I've thought about purchasing previously, but I'm very, like, I don't always go back. You know, DLC, if it comes within a certain period of time and the game is still in my memory and in my head, I'm like, sure, I'll jump back into that. It's not been that long. Frozen Wilds from Horizon Zero Dawn just came just too far for me. I didn't go back to that game.
I haven't either.
Supposedly it's meant to be beautiful, and I should have done, but I hadn't. Whereas Control being, as we said, the free PS Plus game, it seemed silly for me not to have a go. And there's 2 DLCs, right? There's Foundation and there's Ore. And Foundation is more Control. It's just more of what you have already played. It's essentially a new area in the foundations of the building. And the what's it called?
Is that all those weird balls?
Some of those weird balls, yeah. Some of those are around, yeah.
Wait, is it in the area where the mold is?
Where the what is?
So there's that side mission where you go down. You're in like the foyer, and there's a secret elevator down, and then there's some missions with a scientist about finding mold.
No, it's below that. It's below that.
It was the quarry area that I really didn't like.
So it's similar. It's similar to the quarry sort of area, but only in. I mean, not even in aesthetic actually. It's basically it's another big sort of area where you are Metroiding your way between things, because you get different abilities, different upgrades that allow you to progress in different ways. There's only 2. And really what it does is if you pick this one, you go to A and B, and then you get the next one and go to C and D. Whereas if you pick that second one, you go to C and D first, and then you go back to A and B when you get the other one, which is cool, but it is just more of the same. It ramps up the difficulty a little bit, but I think that might be because I haven't played this game for 2 years, that I just getting back into it. If I'd have played this straight after, I'd have rolled through it, I think. Whereas going back a little bit cold to it, made it that just a touch more difficult. But
is it standalone, or is it like?
It's not standalone. It is DLC, so you need the main game.
No. So did you start? Did you go back to a save file of Control that you had finished the game with?
Yeah. So
I say this because I have been playing Control on Games Pass and am like 2/3, 3/4, 4/5 of the way through. But that's standard edition, and now you're telling me there's more content, but I have for free because I still have PS Plus active, although I'm about to cancel it. But then I would have to rebeat the game.
I think so.
I think so. When people do that with DLC, that's like one of the reasons why a lot of the time I don't go back to it. It's like, just plop me down in that DLC. Just let me go from the menu. It's like, I want to play this DLC thing. Just give me a loadout. I don't care what it is. Just let me play it. Don't make me go to this side of the building, which I can't remember where it is, especially with like a game like Control. The map's a bit confusing. It's like, just put me there, give me a quick refresher. It's like, these are all the button prompts in like just one combat scenario at the start of the game. It's just like,
yeah.
I don't feel they do the onboarding for DLC, which is why it's always hard to go back to it. It is a time thing, as you said, Ben, but I think a lot of it is just like, I don't know how to play this game anymore.
Absolutely.
It's not Hitman, which is hardwired to my brain at this point.
I don't know how Control deals with sort of like the leveling of enemies and those sorts of things. So I don't know if you could, even if you bought it on the system that you're playing it on, I don't know if you have to have completed the game or if you could just go and do that. If you could just start up Control on the PlayStation and just go and do the Foundation straight off, because it scales enemies to your ability.
It doesn't though, right?
Or to
because
the level.
The enemies have numbers beside them, and the numbers slowly increase as you get through the game.
They do, but also Control does that thing where you've already done this area really early in the game, and now we're going to throw in a load of enemies that are your level.
Yeah, they're higher level. Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, if I started a new character, I'm not gonna be able to fight anyone outside of that intro level. Like, having just played through the first couple acts, like the way it's structured is like, one, it gates you from being able to go to those other places, but like you just don't have the abilities and the powerful enough weapon to kill level 4 people when you're at the beginning of the game, and level 4 is pretty easy to kill at my point in the game. So
Yeah.
if the DLC is like post game content, even if it didn't gate you off like mechanically,
Mhm.
like or like linearly, like if it didn't access gate you off, it would like gameplay mechanically gate you off because you would have to be like headshot, duck, headshot. Like you would be playing a totally different game
Yeah.
and still probably losing because you would take forever to attrition out their health
Mhm.
because that's how they scale enemies at higher levels,
Right.
which is close to my point about control. But let's finish your happy points about the DLC because we've kind of talked around DLC, but you haven't actually said what you think about it.
Well, so the foundation is more of control, and it's fine. If you want more control, that's a perfectly good DLC to play. It does jump you all over the map and blocks things off based on the powers that you get, right? Or, which is the second DLC, which everyone was like, oh, it's called Or. It's a Remedy game. This is going to be Alan Wake related. And it is Alan Wake related, which is
It's a retcon.
brilliant, but it's not.
Have you played Alan Wake?
Yes.
Okay.
But I've not played like American Nightmare or the... How many Alan Wakes are there? 3?
2, 3,
or 2? Anyway, I played the original.
This is the first game in the DLC, right? The American Wasteland. There's nothing beyond that.
What?
For the Control DLC?
No, I mean like Alan Wake.
Right.
There's only one Alan Wake game in the DLC. The American.
No, because American Nightmare was a standalone thing.
It's standalone, but it's
Standalone DLC.
Yeah.
Right, okay, sure. Yes,
But
sure.
there was an Alan Wake 2, no? Or was...
No, are you not thinking of Max Payne?
I mean,
There's only one Alan Wake.
There's several Max
Yeah,
Paynes.
you are correct. Yeah, you are right. Yeah, I got confused. Basically, I was like, I don't think there is one, and then stupid Google was like, Alan Wake 2 is a result, and I was like, I must have forgotten the game, but it's the rumored game that is supposed to come after this game.
Yeah.
And Google was like, this exists. It's like, no, fuck you, it doesn't.
So
You'd think that the internet would have willed that into existence by now, but they
oh,
haven't. So
yeah.
people love Alan Wake. So.
The good thing about this Or DLC is that it doesn't do it stops it being kind of like a Metroidvania game, and it very much sets you on a path. So you're like, hey, do this bit, and then go and do this bit, and then go and do this bit, and then that is the end. You have finished this thing. But it changes stuff up a little bit. So it plays with light, and there's a lot of areas where the lights aren't working, and you have to pick up a light source and go and burn out these areas of blackness to be able to kind of progress and stuff like this. And the main enemy, the main boss for this DLC lives in the darkness, right? So you go into areas and there's no light, and it will suck away all of your energy. So you can only dash a couple of times because your energy's been taken out. You can't pick things up and throw them, and it turns it more into a set of puzzles where you then have to go around the area figuring out how you turn the lights back on. And it just made it that little bit different. I'm like, good. I liked Control. The base is really good, and they've done something different with this, which is brilliant. But it then also it goes into kind of Alan Wake, and he's chatting to his double, and all of these kinds of things. And Jesse, the director, is kind of seeing his story play out a little bit, and he's actually there like typing away a new novel, and like that's the object of power, and all of these sorts of things, and how they tie it in is really, really clever, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
Is it parallel with Alan Wake 1? Like, are you, as Jesse, seeing Alan Wake 1 happen, or is it new Alan Wake content? It doesn't matter if this is...
I don't know.
I'm just curious.
I don't know, actually.
I played Alan Wake like in 2019, and I can't remember.
Did you?
Oh, really?
That game.
God, when did Alan Wake come out? 2012?
11, I think?
11, okay.
12?
Or 10.
It was yeah. Early 2010s-ish. So Yeah, about 10 years ago or so.
I mean, that's why I was asking that question, because I was like, I literally cannot. I don't remember anything like that. I remember it was reaching, but interesting.
But it very much, it does set up like Alan
2010.
Wake 2. Or the next game, which would be an Alan Wake kind of game. So, and it does it kind of cleverly as well. And it's interesting that they're pulling those two franchises together, and it makes sense to have them in like a shared universe, absolutely. But it will then be interesting to see where they take the Alan Wake formula. You know, like with IO Interactive and using Hitman as a base, and then seeing what they do kind of with James Bond. It's going to be interesting with what Remedy do with Alan Wake next. And
just make a Silent Hill game.
I mean, they could absolutely do that. They could absolutely do that.
Would, right?
Yeah, and
I think Remedy are good at like combat, but Alan Wake was never about that combat. So.
No, it wasn't. Not at all. Not at all.
So Remedy is good at combat, but they want to be storytellers.
Yes,
and that's gone either way, which is why I think it's such an interesting and strong studio. Is because like their raw talent isn't what they're trying to excel at, but that doesn't mean they won't excel at what their raw talent is. So it's like this chase, which I think is really healthy for a developer. They're never going to rest on their laurels. I mean, Quantum Break is a perfect example of. I liked the combat all right in there, but it was very clearly like the bits of the combat I didn't like were because they kind of stopped. Like it was like you could see them being like, "Yeah, but we really want this weird TV weird thing to go, so put more effort that way." So the only like few times the gameplay let me down, it really felt like it was like an underwhelming boss fight or like narrative fight. That like
boss was awful.
Yeah, it wasn't that like the game itself sucked. It was like, oh, you just didn't put the resources there at this point in your development. Like you can just feel it in this moment because the rest feels really tight, and now it's loose. And also, you're trying to do all these bonkers things, and you're not succeeding. But I'd much rather a studio or dev do that. Have faith in what their fundamentals that they're good at, but also reach.
I think Sam Lake's a good writer, though. So as you say, I think, without sounding harsh, I think they do combat well and they do story well. They don't do either of them brilliantly.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think that's exactly how I feel about Control. I love the X-Files vibe. I love the world that they've sort of nodded at and built. But because of the nature of the beast, it's like the vagueness is part of it. The details kind of end up selling it short. And so it's like, oh, when you realize that, you're like, oh, right, the world building isn't as strong as it seems. It's just they've built their weakness into a strength by making it like this sort of X-Files-y mystery thing. It's like, okay, well then you not explaining a thing is because it's confusing and vague and weird, and that's great because then you don't have to. But when you start to explain things, it's not quite as tight as I'd want it. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's just not quite as tight as I want it.
Those best files that you read are the ones that have redacted information.
Oh, I actually really like that. I find
that's what I'm saying.
Every time, because I sit there and be like, "Can I figure that out?" I'm like, "Nah, it's probably some dude's name. It doesn't matter." But like, there's a moment where you're like, "Ew, that's a verb. Does it matter what that verb is?" No, probably not.
But it should, it lets you fill in the blanks. Whereas like Quantum Break wanted to be this very tight-knit sci-fi thing, and it just got too convoluted in its own plot, like a Kojima game or something like that. And it's just like, Control gives it that space to breathe.
Yeah, I think
fill in the blanks.
Not only is filling the blanks important, but also from a narrative standpoint, you want your reader, listener, observer, whatever you want to call them, to be participatory. So it's really important you give them the space to fill in some blanks. And I think Control kind of pendulums a little too far the other way, which is why I think it's a little loose in places. But I'd much rather that than Quantum Break, where they were trying to jam all the information at you to the point where you had these like
me had a whole TV
show, 30-minute episode of show. You also played through a lot of plot-heavy exposition.
Yes.
And like I think I actually really liked the idea of the show, and I liked watching the show. But then it was when I stopped the game, it was like a mildly difficult fight that was like a bit of a difficulty spike, and it right before it was some bullshit narrative thing, and I'm like,
I enjoyed the TV show just to see how many ways they could cram in like Windows phones into into the cutscenes.
that's very good.
That's
so
what I remember most.
I have my own. Oh, sorry, there's a cat yelling at my door. I'm trying to figure out if I should open it. I have my
Go
own
open it because I'm going to go use the toilet and I want to
Sure.
hear your
Okay.
thoughts.
Well,
Ben,
I don't want to
Ben,
move on from Control because it's one of the games I want to talk about for
Yeah,
a different reason, Ben's.
Okay, well,
But
that's
I'm
fine.
going to open the door for the cat.
Vent Bam.
Mark the episode or whatever.
Vent Bam. Vamp
Vamp.
Ben.
Yes.
It's supposed to be
For those of you listening, I am very much enjoying Control and the DLC. It's worth going back to if you like Control. If you enjoy the gameplay and you like what you've experienced with it. I'm not sure I would start Control just for the DLC. The Alan Wake the Alan Wake DLC, which is called Altered World Events, is very fun, and it's a different take on Control, but you've got to get through a lot of Control to get to that point. So, good to go back to if you've played it.
You singing a song?
No, I was just letting the listener know my final thoughts on playing Control, going back to it.
So the cat just wanted me out of the room.
Oh, I see.
So I opened the door, and then he just yelled at me, and then literally did the head nod that way while yowling, and I was like, "No, I'm not."
Come
and
on,
so
yeah.
like I took a step toward, like I opened the door fully. I'm like, "What do you want?" And then he immediately like turned around and went away. I'm like, "I'm not coming with you." Oh, boring.
Right,
The OG
Aadil,
podcast.
your comments on Control, because you've obviously got a different
So
sway on
I'm
this.
not done the game. I was on pace where, given the time I was spending, I thought it'd be done by this week.
Right.
I took a break, mostly because. So one of the things I like about the game is there's like I like exploring. I like finding those files. I like seeing those redacted things, painting out this weird world in a ways that don't matter to Jesse, right? But they matter to my understanding of the world. Learning about the difference between power objects and weird objects. I can't remember the labels. You know, like objects of power, what the director can tame and get powers, and then there's these other things that you have to just diffuse so they don't kill people. And there's like some Metroidvania moments where like I had like there's one thing I unlocked, and it's like it took me to a new place that had one of those like a control point, so I could now teleport to there anytime I want. But then there's this vast gap before I could get across to do the thing, and I hadn't unlocked levitate yet. So I killed myself several times trying to jump dash across and never quite making it. Which I'm fine. So I got levitate, and I'm like, I know exactly where I'm going first, right? And I went there, and this boss battle was rough. I died a couple times, but it was like, oh, it's fine. But other parts of this game, the difficulty spike is really harsh, especially on side missions that you can easily find. Like, I don't know if it's like I'm just bad at this game for like so some games have side missions that are like post game, or like you're not supposed to just when you find them finish them. Like these are like get good bonus type things. And with this game, because it's a little non-linear, it's super unclear whether it's like,
Absolutely.
am I just garbage, or is it like or is there a pattern I'm not seeing, or is it like I said, did I get here kind of by accident too soon because really I wanted some other power I didn't know about to do. So in the mold level, like I mentioned, that was like in the basement there. I haven't gone back, but I mentioned not like after last week's episode, but on chat, I think like just like this is, or maybe it was last week, but it's just like this is brutal.
Yes.
I'm getting it to like a third or a quarter health dead, and then I'm destroyed. And a lot of it is because you get hit once and you're down to almost no health. And I feel like that fight made me realize what I don't like about this game, which is it wants you to be constantly moving. It doesn't quite want to be a cover shooter because some things just hit you out of cover.
Yes.
But it really, the first act of the game gives you warm, fuzzy feels about using cover, and then it stops working, and that's really frustrating because I've learned the game wrong in a way that I did really well at, and now that just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And like I said, so these difficulty spikes were aggravating once I realized it was like, oh, I've gotten to this far in the game. Like, I have 0 health upgrades because for most of the game I didn't need health, or if I did, I had the bonus health from dropped pellets. But then there's some fights where like the only way to get the headway is to like really kill things from far away before they get to you. But that means I'm not getting any regen off of their death because all the juicy health pellets are out of my reach. And one guy throws a thing, or I get hit by a couple bullets, and I'm just done. And it's like, I don't know how to progress in the way that I was playing this game, which has worked thus far successfully.
Have you got the thing where you can create a barrier?
The shield, yeah. So I know I'm not using the shield enough. I know this as a fact because I never use it.
I never use the shield.
I fucking hate it. I find it. The reason why
I felt that I had to. I'm not saying that. I agree, it's very much a design issue with the game, and it's not you. I was just wondering if you had that.
Yeah.
Because that might help.
I have launch almost all the way. No, I think launch fully done except for the very last extra thing where it's like 3 things. And then I have C's almost all the way, and I've unlocked, dash, levitate, shield, ground pound, which I forget exists because so one of the things I realized is I could levitate more, and maybe that would help me not getting hit. But to me, because the game, like so much of the game has trained me for cover, the idea of just jumping in the air to shoot people seems really dumb.
Yeah,
I feel like levitate, like I use levitate as access. I don't use it as combat ability, and maybe if it wants me to do that, again, the way the game has trained me not to think of that as an option. And I think that's where I'm at frustration wise is I felt like this game is it's fine. I'm doing good. Like I die every so often. Usually it's on these weird boss fights before I learn a pattern. I'm doing fine, and then I hit this, and then I hit like side mission. No, you're fucked. Other side mission. No, you're fucked. And now plot mission, kind of fucked. And it was like, and all of them are trading on the same, like, the way you're playing isn't the way we want because it happens to be that this is one of the few plot missions where you have to run and gun and dodge. Because if you are trying to do the cover thing, you can kill people, but you won't be able to pick any health up, which means the fact that you've never upgraded health at all means that when you try and run and gun, it's like, I got hit once, I'm half dead.
Yeah.
Well, and by half dead, I mean literally almost all the way dead. I say half dead because the game right now feels like 2 hit kills. It's the one hit that gets you to a sliver, and then the other hit that kills you. And that's really frustrating because I could have prioritized copious amounts of health if I thought the game required it, and like a full third of the game did not require it, and that is the third of the game where I did the most leveling.
Yeah, that was one of my massive issues with the game. That like those difficulty spikes, and you're so right. I may not have said it, but you just like when we spoke about it initially, but yes, you've hit the nail on the head why the combat didn't work for me as well as I think it could have in that game. Because it's like you can't go out in the open because you'll just get killed instantly, but it gives you all these tools to be this, psycho Jean Grey woman like hurling things at you out in the open. It's sort of like Wolfenstein 2, which I absolutely adore the narrative of, but I thought it was a downgrading gameplay from the first game because I think they looked at Doom, in 2016. I was like, well, maybe we should like take some of the combat from it, but it's like, no, because you do get hit 2 hits and you're down in Wolfenstein, and the stealth was never that great in those games.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it was like you wanted you to be stealthy and take out all the, commanders, but
There was that
same
level.
time, it wanted you to keep moving and run and gun, and it was just trapped in between those two design philosophies. And Control's the same way.
Yeah, and it's really sad because I was like so enamored with it. Like I got why you both really liked it, and then it was like, and I was playing it like to the point where it's like, look, I'm unemployed. I need to be applying to jobs. I quote unquote need to be writing papers. But there was a couple days where it's just like I could wake up and play Control instead. And then now it's like I am invested in the plot. I like the gameplay, but I'm at a position in the game that has discouraged me from going back because all like the side missions I happen to know about and the main mission I happen to know about are ones that I hit a wall with, and I suspect it's like 2 or 3 tries and I'll get past the wall. But it's all of those, like, so it's like, oh cool, I found a way, no. Oh cool, I found a way, no. And then, oh, I need to do this to progress, no. And all of those no's being around me apparently playing the game wrong is what the game seems to be telling me.
You're not playing the game wrong. It's like,
no, I know, but I'm just saying like, that's the message the game seems to be telling me, right? Because this is also very important for listener if you haven't played the game. There's no difficulty adjusting in this game. No. There's this game. Yep. And so like it's not that I'm like playing it on hard and I should just suck it up and realize I'm not a hard player of this game. I'm hitting a point where it's like I am playing the game the way I can only play the game, and I don't want to grind a boss or two in this way because like the mold one was, I think, is the best example. It's like I got the best I did was like I got it to a quarter health, and I think I could probably do better because that run at that boss honestly was I got hit within like the first 10 seconds and was almost half dead already. But it also turned out to be if you don't have levitate, it's really hard to dodge its attacks.
You needed levitate. The 3-headed like Hydra type beast.
Is it the one with the eyes?
Eyes?
Or
So it's the one you do with it. It's a side mission with the scientist who's in the basement that you find underneath.
You have to collect all the mold for it.
I think I did that. I just can't remember the boss. Yeah. I just remember one boss infuriated the hell out of me.
I think it's
the floor fell from underneath you, yet you were meant to be looking at this big eye.
Like, it's a different thing, I think.
Yeah.
Awful.
And like. I like looked up a guide and it was just like do these things. It's like, yep. One of those things I didn't explicitly try and do, but it was kind of implicitly doing. I guess just don't die. And then I like went on a YouTube tutorial and the tutorial's like you should change your loadout to be a bunch of health and like fling or whatever. And it was like, I see what this. Yeah, okay. What you've told me is, fuck this fight.
Yeah, I think part of Control.
So every path in this game, I'll just finish this thought. Where I found something new, I've followed it and managed to like not first try. Like but like I followed it. I've beat the boss. I got the new thing. I defused the thing. Every point in the game up until that fight, I could bumble my way through with the abilities I had and my ability with the game. And this is just like a hard wall where it's like I feel like I'm doing the most control, and it's like, yeah, cool, you got it like to 2/3 of its health or 3/4 of its health gone. But you're not gonna beat it this way. Like you just aren't. You have to do something else, and it's like
there were some encounters in that game where it was like I'm walking away from this fight because it's just unfair.
Yeah,
like, it has nothing to do with me or my skill level. It's just like, this is bullshit, and I'm not doing it. And it's like, nah, I'm good.
Why I wanted to bring this up is because I'm so frustrated because I really like this game and want to finish this game.
Yeah.
And like, so I realized what I need to do is just focus on this one actual mainline plot fight that I struggled with, because I'm pretty sure I gave up on it because I had hit these 2 other arc walls and it was just like, oh, another one of these. Yeah,
Wait
no,
until you
maybe
get
I'll just Alt
like-
F4.
Just wait
Are
until you
you
get.
sure you might lose progress? I don't think this is real progress. Fuck you. Like, I was in that mindset because, again, I was like,
Sunk fallacy.
yeah, but exactly. Like, I was just in this position of like, I'm not enjoying this. I haven't enjoyed this for 45 minutes because I've tried 3 different things and they all like screwed me in weird ways. Why am I playing this game? Instead of, if I was in a better place with the game, if I hadn't been spiked, it would have been like, okay, so how do I actually tackle this fight, this integral plot fight?
I mean,
I have a suspicion my trouble with that fight is really simple, but my trouble with the other fights isn't, because that's the way the spikes are in this game, and I don't like that they are that way. I don't want it to be easy, but I don't. I like.
Yes, I think they're quite unfair, and some people, Ben, you platinum it. It's like some people get over those humps easier than others, and
Yeah, absolutely.
I think like it does upset me because it's like Control is such a. I was really excited for that game, and it's like that's on me. To be excited for it and not living up to my expectations, but it's a shame to me because Control just seems like the packaging and the story. I don't think the story really pays off, but just the whole ambience and the atmosphere. It seems like something that you can only really capture once, and still have that kind of, that, for want of a better term, that awe, and that discovery the first time round. Whereas something with, like Control, where it did have a few rough edges, I think could just be, they could make an amazing sequel, but I don't know how much staying power that kind of atmosphere and curiosity would have game to game if you did the same thing again.
Absolutely.
So it's a bummer. Like, there's so many good things about that game, but there's so many bad things about it as well.
That's true. Yeah, and hopefully they can learn and iterate and improve. And Remedy aren't the studio that churn out game 1 sequel. They will jump between different projects, different IP and stuff. And hopefully Alan Wake is the next thing that they're going to bring out. It will be a very different experience. Then maybe it's something else, and then maybe we get a Control 2, 8 or so years after the original. So they've had enough time to iterate and change things and play with the formula. I mean, I can see them going to it a bit earlier than that, perhaps, that we get a Control 2 maybe.
I mean,
for this generation of consoles, but
because it won a lot of.
Awards.
It won a lot of awards. I mean, to be fair, 2019 was a bit of a slow year, so
yeah.
Any other year it wouldn't have been.
You'd say that, but then 2020 happened, and 2021 is going to happen. Like,
no, but
2019 was a veritable font of games compared to.
Just in terms of like quality games, that stood out. Like, you could, like 2020, a lot of games stood out. 2019 was like, shall we just give it to Sekiro? Yeah, that seems like From Software likes those games. 2019 was one of those years. It was 2014, but nowhere near as bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they've got they've got that pulling power from the name, and let's hope 505 don't publish it.
I mean, one thing I will say is, so from all the reviews and things and like the big hooks people said, I expected the world to be more malleable than it is.
Okay.
It's actually just a static map that when you finish mission X, the map just goes, and now this door's open.
Yes. Yeah.
And I thought it was gonna. So like the way people sold it, I thought it was gonna be like, boy, are you gonna need that map because this is gonna move here and there.
The whole idea of the shifting house, the oldest house. Yeah.
But actually, I don't use. I pulled a Lucy with this game. I rarely use the map. Not only because the world is static, it just has like updates, if that makes sense. But also the map is shit, and it just don't. It's a very bad map. But like, except for when it's like, oh, find this one spot in the containment unit to do the thing in the main plot, and you're like, oh, I haven't found that. Okay, I'll open up the map to look and be like, okay, there's like 3 question mark areas in this level, and they're in these spots. Cool. I kind of think it's these spots, and then I'll look at it again. What I really would say is, on the flip side, is it's a very well designed game because so much of it can be done kind of fluidly. Like when you enter a new floor and start exploring, there's enough spatial awareness and landmarking, despite the premise being that there shouldn't be, which again really threw me off. As soon as I realized that it wasn't going to change on me, I'm like, oh, now I'm pretty sure I can go that way and find something else. And then I went that way and found something else. And it was like, oh, this game is actually really well designed, and then claiming it's not, which is so weird. But like, yeah, I thought like it's a good thing it is, because again, the map is shit. You can't like waypoint. You can't like.
I don't know if that's a good thing. That it's like,
it's damning praise, Lucy. It's damning praise. It's what I do the best.
No, I mean, like, I don't, because when I think of Control, I think, oh, I just think of this labyrinthine mess. I think that's like kind of like what that oldest house is meant to be.
But it's not.
Like, I don't know. It's like,
I mean, it is. I can see it from both points. It is, but it isn't. So it is in terms of the idea that spaces don't flow very well, that you have to backtrack a lot, that you're kind of revisiting places but not, and skipping over things and all these sorts of things.
Some weird hotel in the middle,
Yeah, but yes. But also it was sold in the way.
Literally a labyrinth, though.
Yes, but it was also sold in the way that, you know, the oldest house does shift and things change, and all of those elements. But
that's what I'm saying.
The oldest house doesn't shift and change
all the time. It doesn't know from a gameplay point of view, because that would be a technological nightmare. But
I mean, I think
I'm talking about thematically. The way I view Control is just like, I was so lost in everything, and that just seems like thematically correct for what they're doing.
I think so I didn't get that. So what I got was,
it's not intentional on the side of the developers, obviously, because I didn't like the game that much, but so it was to its detriment in terms of my enjoyment. But just in a weird way, I was just like, it's just a mess to me.
Right, Aadil, last point, and we'll finish Control chat here.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
No, go for it. What's your last point?
Oh, I mean, I was just going to say that, like, I was disappointed by the fact that it's not labyrinthine.
Yeah, okay.
It kept telling me it was, but like, that's why I was like, okay, I can skip it. Because as soon as, especially once you've cleared an area, it's the same. It's always going to be the same. It's like, you told me this will not stay stable and it will move around, but actually, the areas where I don't need to go back, so if I'm confused when I go back, it's not a big deal. You didn't change. Like it's just like, again, one of these weird narrative frustrations where they like put a hat on top of a hat on top of the idea that this is a flexible changing space we can't all keep track of, and then the entire game, it's a trackable space that all that happens is like, until you kill this person, or you do this fight, or you hit this plot point, this area will be blocked off. It's just a Metroidvania in the purest sense, except some of it's narrative and some of it's access. Like, some of it is, I need to fly over here to fight this boss, and I don't have fly yet. Great. And some of it is like, I hit this plot point, and then it rearranges the world, and now this blocked door is unblocked, but all the other paths to this room are statically the same. So actually what it was Doom, where I found the red key. It's the same. It is the same gameplay mechanic, but with a really cool CG way of unlocking a door. And I find that really frustrating when it's selling me on a really malleable space, because which is part of the world building, right? Like the world is being built upon, hey, this is really weird and you'll be lost and it's disorientating. And then it's like super structured. And if I go to the executive suite, I know exactly where I'm going from now until eternity. Like it's frustrating because they made a point of telling me that I'm going to have trouble this way or seek it out because it does this thing, and neither of those are true.
Yeah,
And that's why when it was billed as a Metroidvania, I was a bit disappointed, because I was like, oh, it has that sense of like isolation, which I like, but
I'd love it if it was like
Asylum.
it rearranged, but you needed certain powers to just get at places no matter the rearrangement.
But it's so linear in that way that it's not really a Metroidvania. It's like, here's this extra part if you want to go to it, but really it is just linear.
Yeah.
And I guess Metroidvanias are linear in that sense. So
that's our last word on Control.
That's Control. Yes, I have opened another beer.
I have grabbed another beer but not opened it.
Okay, I feel that we're at a point where we're 250 episodes in. We're going to have a little bit of an extended episode tonight, but we've only got about 30 minutes, and I feel we're probably going to chat for a little bit about our beers and then talk at the end about the beers that we enjoyed. So I feel, Aadil, maybe anything else that you wanted to talk about might get a little bit truncated this evening into about a 5-minute section. But we'll chat about the beers that we're going to open now. And we'll see
let's do our beers. I don't have a lot to say about the other game I was going to talk about.
Cool. Okay.
And then
And
the
I
other
have
thing we
nothing
were
else
going to
to
have, but it's fine.
Yeah, that's
my
fine.
grievances have laid out clear.
I've opened a beer. I've already started drinking it. I have opened Overtone's Can Ye West.
Hey.
Which is
wow, that is clear.
Clear, super clear.
Clear as not day, but
no, a little bit sort of maple syrupy colour, a slight bronziness.
Oh, interesting. So on the camera, it looks a little more yellow than maple syrup. Is it more orangey for you?
It is more orange. It's more orangey for me. Absolutely, it's got a bronzy sort of note.
The term is morange.
Morange. Again, makes sense. A bronzy can art as well. But a West Coast IPA, 8%. It lets me know that the hops are Citra Columbus, Raku, and Simcoe. It's got Marisol, Caragold, dextrin malt, and white wheat, and the yeast is California Ale. So far, I'm enjoying it. It's
nice.
It's got a nice malty nose to it, like a lovely sort of like toffee note in that nose, and it's very. Like, I wanted to use the word clean, but it's not quite clean.
Is it crisp?
It's not crisp. It's not crisp. It's a big muddle of lots of different flavours. So there is that maltiness. There is a little bit of kind of this slight toffee note to it. Getting a little bit of fruitiness, but not a huge amount. It's like very, very malty beer, which is great. But I expected a bit more bitterness to it. There is absolutely some, but it's not very big.
Little bitterness.
A little bitterness, and it kind of sits in the background. So there's a very slight hint of fruit, but you're met much more, as I say, with this maltiness, with this slight toffee. There's a little bit of hard to pick that fruit out, because the malty sort of base of this really pushes through, and it is the big sort of flavour that I'm getting. But it does peter a little bit into a bit of bitterness, but not very much. Interesting for a West Coast, what they've put together for this. I'll come back to it towards the end of the episode. Lucy, what have you got next?
Beer from Boundary.
Oh, nice.
It is an 8% beer.
Mm-hmm. Lovely.
The last 8% beer has got to my brain and bladder. So I don't know if it's a hangover from not drinking for a month, but I got the 8%. What's it called? It's called Private Functions. It is a dipper dry hopped with 22 grams per litre of Mosaic, Idaho 7, and Amarillo.
Mm.
The artwork is by johnrobinsonart.com. Andrew's always got this very. It's like it's like when you walk into like a corporate building, and they always have this artwork where it's just like just like this paint, just
Yep.
like these brush strokes that looks
It's a
like
little
sand.
grungy. It's sort of arty grungy.
Yeah, it's very reductive way of speaking about it, but yeah, it's just like I don't know what that is or what that signifies, but that's nice. It's just a brush stroke, but it's very nice. Yeah, 8% 440 ml can. Yeah,
What was it called?
Crack it open.
Nice.
What was it called, Lucy?
Private Functions.
Nice. Aadil, what have you got?
It's just like corporate.
I have this lovely Verdant beer. It is Don't Fear the Ferryman, and it's got this gorgeous fucking art. Like, look at this line drawn ferryman with this top hat.
Is that like the ferryman in Hades?
I assume so. I mean, this isn't the ferryman from Hades. The top hat gives it away. It is a 10.5% Imperial Stout from
Nice.
Verdant Brewery. And it has the following flavor text. I am addicted to the darkness between worlds.
Ooh.
That's it.
That's it. Oh, well, perfect. Okay.
Yep. Says, oh, can we focus?
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah,
you can.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm addicted to the darkness between worlds. Ellipses. That's it. Don't fear the ferryman. It's a gorgeous cat. This art sold me on it. To be honest, it's simple. It's black and white. Well, it's mildly gray toned. No, it's actually black and white. The tones are actually just from lines.
From the lines. Nice. I don't think I've
Also,
ever had a stout from Verdant.
10.5% Imperial Stout. Sorry,
I don't think I've ever had a stout from Verdant.
I haven't either. So that's what. So it was like, what is this can? Oh, it's Verdant. Oh, it's an Imperial Stout. Need to try it out.
Nice.
Imperial, try it out. So that's what this is.
Cool.
I've poured it, but Ben, why don't you tell us beer?
Oh, I've done mine.
I thought did you taste it?
I've tasted it. I've done it. I poured it. I'd already been drinking it. Lucy.
Yeah.
I forgot as well because I was like, I'm just gonna nip to the loo. I was like, no, I'm.
Lucy, what's your beer
Yeah.
like?
Oh dear.
It's very. It's sort of yours in color, like that very ambery orange kind of look, but it's much thicker. It's not. It's opaque again,
Yes.
like the first beer and the second. But malty smell, very like blood orange as well.
Okay.
Wasn't expecting you to say that. That's super interesting.
Blood orangey malty smell. I mean, it tastes like a boundary beer.
Okay.
It's sort of got that like thick, slightly powdery kind of taste to it. It's got a bit of sweetness to it. I mean, it is 8%, so definitely it's crazy. I'm getting more sweetness on this beer than the last one.
Really?
That was a double milk stout with lactose, and
Yeah, that is crazy.
Do you think it's?
definitely
Is it
tasting the alcohol.
just
as
a
well.
dipper? I want any
Yes.
other adjuncts with it, or
Didn't see anything other than it's just saying the hops mosaic. Definitely getting a lot of that mosaic. Idaho 7 and Amarillo.
okay.
It's nice. Don't get me wrong. I just think after the last beer, which is, I mean, it's gonna be my winner. Spoilers, but it's hard to top that. This is a good beer. I like boundary beers. had one that just like knocked my socks off. They just make very pleasant, not average, but just like very pleasant. I don't immediately think, oh yes, I need to go to the beer bottle shop and pick up a Boundary beer. But it's like I see one, I pick it up. I know I'm going to enjoy it. This is the same. Definitely more boozy, more alcoholic than the milk stout. Getting a nice warming sensation after a few seconds. It's thicker too, more of a heavier body. It's got a nice bit of pininess, a nice bit of bitterness. It's well balanced. It's a good beer. It's typical Boundary. There's not much to say about it, to be honest. But it's just a really nice, pleasant, well made beer. Yeah. No complaints. It'll go very quickly. Yeah. It's actually got like a bit of a peppery kind of taste to it as well. Like a bit spicy.
Okay.
I don't know what that's coming from, but yeah, I like it.
Nice. Good. Brilliant. Dill.
Yeah. So real thick looking, strong. Look at that head just cling to the glass. It poured basically like this, like the head's been the same the entire time.
Very velvety.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. It is. Ooh. So that nose is like that lovely sickliness of a stout with a stout nose. So it's actually quite light for a stout. Like I'm getting a bit of roasted something.
Okay.
But I can't tell what because it's actually quite a light nose. It's coated in alcoholic sickly sweet. Which makes it really appealing to the nose, given that it's like quite light. Like there's not a lot of nose going on. Ooh. There's a tang there I can't quite place.
Okay.
So first off, it's 10.5%, I think I said.
Yes.
In the trend for today, I would have pegged this for closer to 8. Just not from the sweetness, but just because it's a little, it's not as it's not as thick. It still coats the tongue, which is why it's strong, like it's alcoholic, but it's not that thick that you could easily mistake it for a lighter beer. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's something on that finish which like peaks up, which makes it feel lighter, and I can't quite place it.
Okay.
But it's got almost but then afterwards, yeah, it's like, I think what it is there's a roasted character that's like a finesse roast. It's just like, yeah, roasted all the way through, and it's lasting throughout the whole taste curve. But it's not like, some Imperial Stouts, some stouts are just like, yes, roasted malts, this is what I'm doing. This is like, I have a malt, it happens to be roasted. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What the Imperial Stout side of it is doing is making sure that I don't need to have another sip to still revel in the taste and try and pick it apart, because the taste is there in my mouth. It's clinging. I could easily still taste all the bits and try and decipher them, even though I've had, as you can see, because of the long lacing, 2 sips. It's deceptive in this way because again it kind of feels light.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's there's like a wiper and trueness of the nuance of the taste, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I know that's inside Bristol baseball, but like it's what it's doing is very specific and very well done, but it's not doing it very in your face. It's like a nuanced Imperial Stout where you couldn't mistake all the bits as Imperial Stout. When you look at them, you're like, but why is it understated? It's just doing it kind of in a relaxed fashion.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to
Like-
be bold and out there. It's just like doing things competently with confidence.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I don't doubt this is 10.5% stout. I feel the richness that comes from an Imperial Stout versus another stout. I feel all those things, but none of them are like shouldering their way in a way that you're sort of used to with this strong a beer, especially so not only 10%, but also an Imperial Stout has a certain character you expect. And it's doing that character in a different way, which is like kind of subdued while not being weak.
Yes.
Um,
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you. Sorry, I feel like I'm being more vague in my descriptions, or more like narrative
It-
descriptors.
It's basically it's doing everything that it should. It just not screaming out to you. It's not like nothing is vying for so much attention. Like
Yeah.
we
So
just
what?
put a ton of vanilla so you can taste the vanilla or anything. It's like
Yeah.
just doing
So
it.
what I will say is, because of that, several sips in, now that I've gotten used to the main taste, there is a bit of a sickly sweet like core to it, and I think it's because normally with Imperial Stouts, because they're doing everything more boisterously, you don't notice how much sweetness the alcohol is giving. And here, because it's much more reserved, there's this moment, and I wonder, like, again, I'm in between sips 3 and 5.
Yeah.
Like
4.
tastes 3 and 5. So I've gone past the initial, like, okay, I'm now used to things. Now I'm at a point where I'm like, oh, but that sweetness is kind of like distracting. So I'm curious by the end if it will have balanced out. But right now, I'm just mentioning this because it's like it's doing all these nuanced things, but there is a trade-off right at this particular point in me getting used to this beer, which is there's a moment where you're like, "Yep, it's real. Yeah, that's alcoholic sweetness. That's what's going on right now. Oh, now all these other like interesting nuanced multi tastes are happening. Cool, I can move on, but I'm having that moment every time I sip it."
I think with perhaps the 15-20 minutes we've got left to try and fit in
we'll
something
see how it
else.
goes, yeah.
I think your thoughts about the end of the beer may have to come in a later tweet.
That is,
because I would imagine it's going to sit for a good sort of 30 minutes with you or something. From what you're saying, it's not something you're going to be drinking very quickly at all.
yeah. Well,
so
we'll see. Speaking of the end of the episode, I played a game this week.
yes, you played several.
Did I? Oh yeah. So, did you want to talk about the game we played together, or
No.
did you want me to say anything? Yeah, I kind of figured. Yeah. I actually think that's good because where we got, so spoiler alert, Ben and I started Destiny 2, but we played mostly apart because that's the way the game is structured to begin with. So I think until we can do like a raid together, it's not really worth talking about that game because that's the core mechanic.
Yeah.
But I played a game that was called
But what's it came from you?
Neoverse.
So Neoverse.
Yeah. So First Looks is my Tuesday stream. It's new games. This is actually a game that came out in February on Steam, but I think it came out on other platforms before. Anyway, it's a Game Pass game. It is.
Oh, this is anime.
Anime ass anime.
CG anime. It's yeah. Neoverse is a beautiful, fantastic game consisting of adventures with thrilling challenges. It is a strategic action roguelite deck building game that will test the player's skill. Start an adventure with unique heroes to save the world along various timelines.
I love as you describe the game, or you read out the text of the game. As soon as you said deck building, Lucy's smile went, "Oh," and she just sunk in her chair slightly.
So, if you don't see the VODs, the stream, this is why it's worth checking it out for moments like that.
I didn't know my face was that expressive.
Oh,
I'm
it
just
is.
I was just
brilliant,
looking at the
brilliant.
video as well. I was like, what is this?
So I'm gonna be brief because I know I'm cognizant we have not a lot of time. It's a deck building game, up my alley. It is remarkably similar to Monster Train, in the sense of it's roguelite where you are building your deck, and every time you run through, more cards are available to possibly unlock as you go. My first run was about an hour, and it was kind of shit. I was not super happy. Like, it was okay, but it was like nothing really interesting's going on. One of the biggest problems I have with the game is it starts with this interminable, like, 7-minute cutscene that has no text or explanation. It's just like anime-ass anime characters fighting Tron-esque anime characters, and you're like, is it always like vague people against Tron? We'll find out, but maybe not. Like, it's actually kind of impressive how many minutes the game gets in without telling you a fucking thing that's graspable. And then it just drops you in, and you're like, is this and like, if you didn't read what's on the package, you'd be like, wait, is this a roguelite? I didn't know until like halfway through my first run whether it was really a roguelite, because one of the things I do on first looks is not like research too much, and the game told me fuck all. To the point where it wasn't until my second run that I realized that, like, at any point in a fight, you can visit the store and use your in-game currency, which is not like microtransaction. It's just like part of the loop, to buy to buy things, cards or items, and they immediately go into your deck, or you can use them. Which means there's like so first time I played, it was kind of like, it seems kind of like a shittier version of Monster Train without nearly as interesting a world and a way worse introduction. Second time I played, I think a more overpowered character and build, because it was like a vampire, so all the damage I did was healing, and one of the things I found really hard to do was manage like defense in my first run. And so it was like, oh, this is easier, but also now I can learn more things. And the game opened up more because I realized I could interact with the systems mid-fight, not sort of between fights, etc. And that's the frustrating part of this game, is it takes no way of saying any of this to you. It literally doesn't indicate it. It just is a fact that
I'm reading some of these reviews. And sorry, I was just reading some of the reviews, and it's mostly positive. And it's like,
no, sorry. So I wanted to get my piece out, which is it's better than I thought it was because I dug deep. But also, what were the reviews saying besides?
No, it seems like it's holding good company. Like, a lot of people compare it to Slay the Spire and stuff like that, which is, very good.
That's interesting, because like on Xbox, the Xbox app, which is what I got it on, because I have Games Pass. It's got like a 2.5 out of 5. It's got a shit rating.
Don't read those. Don't take those, grain of salt, because a lot of the people reviewing games on that is like, the launcher didn't launch and stuff like that.
So people complaining about Game Pass being Game Pass?
Yeah, a lot of those reviews are just like if you go to like a Call of Duty review on any of those systems, it's like, I had to download 100 gigs. It doesn't say anything about the quality of the game. But yes, just on the Steam ones, I just saw a lot of it is Slay the Spire related.
Yeah,
I just saw one that's just a picture of Shrek. That's a good game.
Thank you. Okay, so that's the elephant in the room is Lucy's sent the screenshot into our group chat, and it was just a Shrek that said, "Good game, donkey," while Shrek is being like literally made in ASCII, and I was like, I don't know how to respond to this. I'm gonna keep talking.
And there's one that
stare at the camera, pretend that "Good game, donkey" isn't in my face. But
and there's one that starts off saying, "Don't be fooled by tits." It's really AA+ production slay the spider genre.
So actually, I think so. One of the things I want to do, I might actually reinstall Monster Train because I really like that game, but thought, will I play it again? This game felt deeper than I thought. My second run was like an hour and 20 minutes, 10 minutes or something. I guess that's my biggest complaint is like my first run was almost an hour. It was like 52 minutes, including like stream intro shit. And I got 2/3 of the way through, and it was like, I'm not having fun in these last fights. I'm just dying. Right, Ben, you were around for that, right? And then when I got the vampire character, it was kind of the opposite. It was kind of like, I'm just gonna like, and within like a third of it, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna do a finished run, and then I did a finished run because that character with that build was just like, yep,
Very OP.
which I feel like is a detriment to this type of game because the point is the RNG is gonna fuck you, but you shouldn't be like remarkably different. Like,
Yes.
So Slay the Spire is a game that once you understand the mechanics and you pick a starting character, you will get through the first third no problem, even if the RNG is crap, because you understand the meta game that's going around, like how this character interacts, what the possible things are going on. This very much felt like it's like I can't tell if it's just like if you play the vampire you're gonna win, or you happen to luck out with some decent.
Do you think that's just
Because like
time?
one of the cards I got was right off the top was spend 2 of your like resource and replace your hand with legendary cards, and then of course because it's a deck building game, all the cards you discard go into your deck when you redraw. And it was like, so did I just luck out because I got that early, and then as soon as I play that, like I will always play that card, get cards I can't afford, even if they don't really work in this circumstance, they're gonna still probably be better than the shit cards in my deck, and then I just ignore the shit cards in my deck until I get these ones again. Like, and that's what, like, that coupled with the damage equals healing was just like, how will I fail at this? And then I couldn't, right? So I think there might be some interesting balance issues, but ultimately, the biggest issue is it does not tell you what it's doing. It has no onboarding, and it doesn't do any world building, but seems to want you to care. But then if you don't do world building, you have to tell me the mechanics, or like non-organically. Like if I hadn't played enough of these sort of roguelite deck building games, I would have been real lost, and also I wouldn't have ever done well, because one of the things I checked was like in the middle of a fight, I'm like, oh, can I? So in fights, there's missions which are like, get through, like use this many cards this many times, or get through a fight without doing this. And so some of those you finish mid fight, and you're like, oh, can I cash it in because I could use that money to buy it in the store? No. Missions, not done per battle, but using the store anytime in the battle. And it's like, these things are things I shouldn't have to figure out because they're really inconsistent. But also, you should just tell me. So like, the game seems to want you, especially like at a certain point, they're like, one of the missions is like you start a thing and it's like an elite battle, buy 5 cards, and you're like, well, there's no way I can do this elite battle and buy 5 cards unless I could buy cards in the battle. Oh, I guess I can buy cards in the battle. Thanks, game, for telling me I can buy. It would have been really helpful 3 fucking fights ago if I knew that I could just buy. Oh, like it's totally one of those like figure it out yourself games, but I don't think it's designed well to tell the player that that's what they're doing. I'm not against fuck it, figure it out, but I'm against, hey, I'm playing a fuck it, figure it out game not being a label, right? So that's basically it. Like, I think there's a lot of interesting things that might be there, but I think the average player will never do that because the game is not going to tell them.
Yeah.
Not tell them what to do, but tell them that they can do other things.
Yeah, I've just been skimming some reviews and really positive. It seems like one of those.
Yeah, and again,
dive deep into. Yeah. I just
Like-
want to end on this very, very nice review, but if you want to say your piece first. Okay, I'll
no,
read.
go for it.
I expected bad gameplay because of boobs. I got great gameplay. And boob.
and boobs.
10 out of 10 would play a game. That's very wholesome.
I saw that review from a mile away.
Oh, perfect.
Very nice.
I mean, it sums it up very well.
Anime can be good, apparently. Yet to experience that myself. But,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, my biggest complaint is a thing that like people who play with games and are used to games will see past. But I think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, a lot of these people are just saying, I played Slay the Spire, I want something else, so it'd be interesting.
So then you're looking
You're in
for
there.
more gameplay, and you're gonna click the thing and
Yes.
be like, wait, I can click it now? Oh, cool. What does that mean for me to strategically do this? And it's like, the game should tell me that, so the last thing I'm gonna say is, Ben, correct me if I'm wrong. You should have watched me, but like my first run through, I was really down on the game. I was
Yes.
like, this is kind of stale
Yep.
and garbage and not a good loop, etc. And then the second, I think the second loop, especially the last third of it, it was like, oh, I now get what you're trying to do. This is surprising. I kind of want to play more. And all of that was because I happened to start clicking places
Yes.
in a game that at no point told me to click places.
Absolutely.
And so if I'm in the headspace of, wouldn't it be great if this was Slay the Spire? I'm gonna be like, how much of the Slay the Spire will this be? And just madly click things to see if I can do things. You're gonna love this game because you're gonna find the things they're hiding.
Yeah.
But it's bad design.
Absolutely.
Also,
Sorry.
sorry, when you make a thing where it's like you click on a card and then you have to click on a person to use the card on the person, but when you click on a card, you have the mouse cursor and you have an arrow that builds off of the thing you've clicked saying, I am dragging this thing.
Right.
But the further away from the card you get, the further the mouse cursor and this arrow get, such that when you first click on the card, they are in line. But if I scroll across the screen,
Yes.
then this arrow that grows out of the card will go a little bit, but then there'll be like a 2-inch gap on my monitor before my mouse, and then my mouse cursor. If I want to drag a card onto a person and then arrow comes out of a card and terminates on that person, and then I can't do anything because there's this gap between the hitbox of my mouse cursor and your animation of an arrow. Fuck you, this is so preventable. I tried really hard to explain it, but it's very obvious when you play the game and if you look at the VOD, because it's just like click, drag, arrow. In the middle of torso, click, 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 nothing happens. Drag over. Now arrow that's coming from card is not touching this person at all, but my mouse cursor is touching this person. I can now submit the card on that body because Hitbox cares about my mouse cursor, but it's drawing an arrow for no fucking reason except to confuse me.
Yep.
That's very bad.
Yeah, that was bad. Yeah, that really was. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems like a simple UI thing that should have been
Absolutely.
early access.
I think that was part of this game. That there's a lot of easily sort of fixable things that they just haven't bothered with.
It's
Who knows why?
seems like they've done a lot of work in other places.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It presents very, very well. There's a really good loop there from what I watched sort of Aadil playing.
It's hidden unless you find it. It's
Yes.
the big problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like this is not my kind of game, but I like how they've, because Slay the Spire was just like very. It looked like clip art.
Yes, it did.
Without being harsh, because I think as you were saying, Aadil, like for newcomers, this might be a bit too dense. Whereas Slay the Spire, I think it worked straight off the bat for me. I didn't stick with it because a lot of people said yes, it's in the meta game where everything and people spent
all the juicy things happen in the meta game.
Yeah,
but
the
thing is, this game is doing the same.
But this, I like how they've jazzed up even though it's anime, it's still cool that they've jazzed up the.
So I think that's the saving grace on the initial exposure, but also the damning problem, which is they haven't knitted the cool it's it's like, oh, you've got an animated thing, but also it's literally just JRPG. Like like left side attacks, moves forward, then stops. Then right side attacks, moves forward, then stops. Like it's just, and one of the things you can do is like scroll the camera around because it's a 3D rendered space. But that doesn't mean anything. And also sometimes you like scroll the camera, but if you don't click on a person, it doesn't give you the UI doesn't fade back in. So you're like, I've scrolled the camera around. I don't know what's going on. Oh, I see. I have to click one more time and then it'll fade in, and then I know that I need to attack this person because my part of the turn's not over. Like it's these little things where it's like you've thought about making the world more dynamic, but haven't thought about how that dynamic nature will affect how I learn the gameplay. So I guess it feels to me. My last thing, I know Ben, like we've been saying we'll move on, and I haven't been. It feels very much like a very polished early access moment.
Yeah.
But it's actually a released game.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and by that I mean it's like these are catchable problems that are like, okay, QA might not have realized that this might be shitty, but like you need to give more in the very specific onboarding spots that everyone skips when they are giving early access games because they're worried about the main core mechanics.
Yes.
Yeah. And yeah, so it feels early access in the sense of you have to polish the front more.
Yeah. Fair, absolutely fair. Yeah, I agree from what I saw of your playthrough. Yeah.
Before we move on to beers, I just want to make a quick aside.
Mm.
A game that I played.
Oh.
I'm not going to talk about it because I have no education to talk about this game.
Ooh.
But you know when you just play like a game that is like so like boring. It's
It wasn't. I was expecting some sort of like really effusive word.
It's calming. I played for a Game Pass quest, and I ended up playing it for a few hours. The Hunter: Call of the Wild TM, where you just hunt deer and ducks in like New England.
Right.
I mean, that actually sounds pretty great.
If you want a really good hunting, I mean, this probably has very deep mechanics that I didn't care about. But I tracked a black bear for about 45 minutes to kill it and skin it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fair.
Did you play this on PC or Xbox Game Pass?
Xbox Game Pass.
Okay, so I probably can.
Yeah. Good. Let's move on and finish the episode out, and very quickly talk about the beers that we have enjoyed this evening. Lucy, I'll come to you first. Do you have a clear pick for this evening?
Yeah, I liked the Whiplash. I like all their beers, to be honest. But yeah, it's going to the Arbor and Bristol Beer Factory one. The Boundary also nice. It's probably my least favorite of the day, just because it didn't do anything. Yeah, it didn't do anything different for Boundary beers. A lot of them, I couldn't. You could line them up for me, and I wouldn't be able to say that's that one. That's that one. They all taste very nice, but much the same for me. But yeah, it was the Arbor beer. Like, it's just a really cracking stout. Like, and it towed the line between being too heavy and too light, and just hitting. It said what it did what it said on the tin. It's a double milk stout, so you're expecting the heftiness of a double, but still that lightness and sweetness of a milk stout. It just married the two incredibly well. And
nice.
That's definitely my favourite this week.
Brilliant. Aadil, how about you? Do you think similarly?
Yep.
Yes.
So I really like this. So what I will say is I really like this Verdant Don't Fear the Ferryman stout. I think it's really good. I think it masks its imperialness really well. But it honestly, like what Lucy said, is just exactly what I was thinking, which is the Bristol Beer Factory Arbor Double Milk Stout just does all the things you want it to do really well. And the key observation Lucy gave was like, it toes that line. It's like, hey, I'm a double, only hearty. Guess what? We all like heartier stouts.
Yeah.
Oh, but I'm a milk stout. I'm gonna be a little sweet, but not too sweet. It's great. And that's how I feel about it. It's like,
I haven't tasted the original from Beer
Bristol Brewery.
Bristol Brewery, yeah, but I imagine it's sort of like on that line of like the Ton Cocos from Brew York.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
they
you're bang on with that. Yeah.
Gradations of it, and it's like they all carry that through line.
Yeah.
Just cater to different tastes and
Yeah, and so again, I think it's one of those things where it's an 8% that doesn't feel like an 8%, but so in the sense of like I don't feel it being boozy, but it feels like an 8% in the sense of I'm really sated by it.
Mm-hmm.
It's that towing the line that it itself drew, and it's towing it really well.
Nice.
And like, yeah, while the We Are All Stardust was a really great IPA, I think I started the episode being like, hey, I could have 3 rounds of this. Easy peasy. But it didn't do anything remarkably different. It's just like, this is an IPA that is sufficiently light and doesn't taste too light that I could have round after round of it.
Yeah.
And then the Don't Fear The Ferryman is like, this is a boozier Imperial Stout, but actually, I think it's a little too flat compared to the... Like, we've got the lactose in the double milk stout, but honestly, it also had like a slight chocolate versus coffee. No, it was mostly chocolatey, but there was a bit of burnt coffee going on, and it just gave that there was just more taste going on besides just pure alcohol.
The way you described it was like, the ferryman was like subtle to the point where it's like maybe even overconfidence, where it's like the double milk is just like true to what it is, and it's like, look, we're gonna give you these flavors and we're gonna make it taste nice.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah,
Nice.
perfect.
Good.
Yeah, that's been beers.
I really hope that for Don't Fear the Ferryman, Verdant were just in the brew house, and they had Don't Fear the Reaper on, and suddenly this big foghorn went off somewhere in the middle of when the song was playing, and that's how the name came up. But for me this evening, I'm actually going to pick the Whiplash. It was the lower of the 3 beers. It's only an IPA. It's an Idaho 7 IPA, but it was very, very well made, very soft, a lot of flavour going on, which presented itself very well. I think both the Overtone and the North are nice beers, really good, and good dippers. What you would kind of expect, especially with the Overtone being a West Coast, it's got that kind of translucence to the way that it looks. It's got a little bit of pininess, a little bit of bitterness, not too much. But the Whiplash was a beer that I would instantly grab again. It just so easy and just tasted really good. So it kind of stands out this week for just being so well made, and something I would instantly grab again as soon as I sort of saw it. So yeah, an actual easy pick for me this week.
Nice,
I think,
good.
even though all the beers were great, definitely the Whiplash is the standout. So, friends, if you want to chat to us about beers, all the video games that you've been playing, you can do so in lots of different ways. At Tanked Up Cast, almost everywhere. I'm at Nova_47. Lucy is Juicy Lucy 9. Aadil is at the Omniarch. You can go to outoflives.net. You can go to our YouTube page. You can go to our Twitch channel. There's stuff, there's things. Rate us and review us if you wish. That would be very, very helpful.
Subscribe, rate, review.
All of those bits, exactly. And go to outoflives.net, because that is our main home, and there's lots of other stuff for you to experience over there, including VODs of all of the streams that we do, podcast versions of the streams that we do, and written articles and reviews as well. Lucy. Got any final words?
Enjoy the numerical podcast, because going forward, we're gonna have Roman numerals like the Super Bowl going forward.
Shit, okay.
You best brush up on those.
Good change. Good change. Aadil, got any final words?
Drink. Be merry. Be distant, sadly.
Oh, ooh, nice. Or don't be distant. Come and join our Discord. Chat to us. Talk to us about the games you're playing. Talk
Be
to us about the
virtually
videos
close, but socially distant.
Yes, exactly. We're still here for you if you need someone to talk to. We'll post a link to the Discord. It's somewhere, and we'll chat to you. Absolutely. Do those things. But they are the beers. They're the games that we've been playing this week. We have been tanked up for another week. Bye-bye.
See you for episode CLI.
I was gonna say ciao, but now I'm just laughing. But also, ciao.
www.outoflives.net